Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm Intergot for episode 76 on this Sunday, the 12th of April, 2022. On this week's show, we'll be discussing a brand new Monkey Island is on the way from the creator of the series. Lego and Epic Games combine forces to conquer the Metaverse, and our spicy special feature. We share some of the most controversial and unpopular gaming opinions.
Shut up! Bigwig's on the radio! Shut up! It's gaming focused audio!
As always, I'm joined by Mike
Howdy, folks.
and Swinny.
Just unmuted in time.
I know. You know, I always say, as always, joined by, but that's actually completely untrue for both of you.
Especially me. I'm the least always joined by.
I probably should say, as always, joined by me, and then sometimes joined by you two.
You have a 100% strike rate on this show.
Yeah, but that's only because you guys don't want to upload the episodes yourself.
It's not that. It's just the whole, like, mixing, like, man, like, you wouldn't want me in charge of any audio mixing on this.
Neither.
No, that's true.
I reckon you could do the show by yourself, just using us as deep fakes.
Oh.
Just using previous episodes or something. What do you think, Mike? Blah, 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 blah.
That would actually
That's
be
your-
funny to try that. Just,
You joke about that. Like, give it
I shouldn't
15
have
years,
said
I
that.
reckon we'll have AI podcasts.
and then
Probably.
also the fact that, yeah, no, it's probably not a smart idea. We should probably put at the start of the show, we do not give permission for anyone to use our voice data in any AI recreation or anything like that. But as always, if you want to check out all of our links, check out the description or go to bigwigpod.com. This week, we have no question. This is a failing segment. I'm going to, look at this. I'm deleting it from the run sheet. The question is gone forever. It's
Yes,
when he
victory!
smiles.
Nah.
I have a
It's
question.
good.
Go on.
What's the first game you remember playing?
We've covered this.
Yeah, we did a whole segment on this. It's called Our
Really?
Earliest Gaming Memories. You can check it out on a YouTube channel. Not many views, but a lot of love
Was I
went into
there at
that
the time?
segment.
This will be similar to our segment at the end. Unpopular opinions. No one's going
Mike,
to listen.
Mike,
but we like
yes.
it.
Yes,
I
you
was
were
there. Okay, wow.
So I
Far
remember
out.
the name of the game now because we did that
Really
segment. I
onset
looked
of-
it up and I remember the name. It's Mousetrap on the Atari 2600. Do you remember the name of the game for you, Swinny?
It was Defender on the Atari 2600.
Look at like how old are we? Atari 2600 is our first.
Bad. Don't ask me, because I wouldn't remember.
Well, what is
What I
yours?
said.
Sextras?
I don't know, because I don't remember what I said
wasn't
on that
sexist.
episode.
You weren't on
If I
that
don't
episode.
even remember what the question was.
Well, you weren't on
Right.
that, were you?
On what?
That episode.
Which
Wait.
episode?
He was.
Oh, was he?
Yes, he
I
was.
was.
It was
Oh,
all three of us.
shit.
Can I
Yeah,
ask
I think-
Mike, considering you forgot we did that
Slightly.
entire segment, I'm going to ask you, what did we cover on last week's show?
Ooh, okay.
That's a good one.
Oh man.
Say one story.
Who deleted?
Don't-
Who deleted last week's run sheet?
Don't
go on.
don't
What's
look
one
it up.
story? What's one story we covered?
One of the
Shit,
stories we
man.
covered was
Oh my god, that's amazing.
and I did the thumbnails too. So there you go.
You literally can't remember?
No,
Oh my god.
This is amazing.
not at all.
How can you not remember any story
sorry,
that we
I
talked
hate-
about last week?
I hate putting people on the spot, but this is comedy gold. I'm
I
sorry.
like how you. I hate putting people on the spot after you put someone absolutely
Oh,
on the
no,
spot,
totally on the
streaming on the
spot.
internet.
Totally on the spot. I'm not saying I didn't.
Oh shit! All right, I'll
And
save
I
you,
did
Mike.
the thumbnails.
I'll save you. I'll save you. What have you been playing this week, Mike?
Oh, see that I do remember.
Yeah, what is it?
fortunately. Ah, shit. What was it? That game that Swinny recommended I play, which is called Weird West.
I don't know if Mike even knows this was in the run sheet to talk
No, I
about.
do know it was in the run sheet.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not that stupid.
I just put it in there saying I know Mike was playing this,
I forget
so
something
he
that
better
that's-
have something to say about
You're like his gaming wife. I'll just add these in. I know. I checked his profile. I'll do
Thanks,
the work
baby.
for him. Thanks, babe. Thanks,
Take
dog.
my lunch.
Exactly.
No, so I did actually play Weird West thanks to Swinny's recommendation because I needed a bit of, as you put it, a palate cleanser from Elden Ring that I, put a few too many hours into. And I tried it on both Series X and PC, and I think I preferred it a little bit on PC. It's really good, right up my alley. It's kind of, how would you describe it? A Fallout, like the original Fallouts, mixed with Diablo. I don't know.
Its combat's a little. It's real time. Isn't it?
It's real time, which I actually really enjoy. That's the thing. That's why it's not quite Fallout, but it's got a lot of those sort of CRPG elements.
I just laughed because
What?
I had myself on mute, but you always reference Diablo. I've realized Diablo
'Cause
is
it's-
like your go-to game to go
'Cause
kind
a
of
lot
like
of
this, and then
games
it's always the
borrow
second
from it.
game you mentioned. You go and Diablo, like it's like the revelation every time.
Because I feel like it just borrows elements from it in terms of the action elements of it and the loot and whatnot.
So this,
But
this
it's
is this is by the what is it? It's Wolf Eye Studio or something. So it's headed up by the ex Arcane
Oh.
guys. So yeah.
It's really cool. So highly recommend it. I mean, you played it as well, didn't you, Swinny? It's part of your.
Not yet. I've downloaded it. I haven't played it yet.
Okay.
so-
Okay. Cool. You're being for a treat. Cool dialogue. Interesting quests so far. Really cool gameplay. The fact that it's real time is actually really cool. It handles really well, plays superbly. So yeah, I do recommend it. And the next thing, of course, that I've been playing, although not as much as the previous weeks, to be honest, because I've been doing a bunch of other stuff that are non-gaming related this week, but Elden Ring. I reckon I'm about 120 hours into it, I think.
Okay.
Give or take. Not finished. Nowhere. Well, I'm thinking I'm near finished, according to what I kind of briefly discussed with you and to God. Mostly because I just wanted to know when, or if there's any events, because I can't say whether there are or there aren't, but I wanted to know if there's any events that change the world in a way that I can't do certain things or I'm locked out of quests or whatever. And apparently there are. So if you're playing the game, look out for that.
Can I just say, I don't want to give any spoilers. There's maybe one or two things that become missable, but like almost
Nothing major.
everything isn't missable, even as you finish the end game, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, you said some other stuff that's true. About
Well,
the
I
world
feel like-
changing.
I feel like there were a couple of quests or something that, in typical fashion, because they're so esoteric, trying to figure out where you're supposed to trigger the next part of it.
Oh yeah.
I'm fairly certain I probably failed them. I got further into the quest line where, again, I'm not going to say what it is, but they introduced a character in a certain area where I'm thinking, hang on, is that related to a different quest that I was sort of doing? Did I miss steps or something? Or anyway, so there's a few elements like that I think I probably missed out on. But anyway, it's it's still amazing, still really good. Swinny, I think you've been hitting it up a little bit as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I think I've overtaken you in terms of time played.
Whoa.
And me.
Oh yeah, I took.
You're almost
you
double.
ages ago.
What? How many hours?
I think I'm about 128, 130 hours at the moment.
Whoa.
But I would say maybe cull about 3 hours of that for idle time. But even
Still.
then, I'm just
Critical distinction.
I'm just really enjoying just taking it really slow and just taking everything in, reading every single item, basically just kind of absorbing the world. And for me, it's like I talked about how, obviously there's a lot of very high highs about this game. It's a phenomenal game. And how I've kind of, last week I mentioned that, I went through a couple of rough patches and kind of got a bit burnt out because I was forcing myself through stuff. So I guess this week, so I went through, high highs and some unexpected kind of lows, but now I think I've come out on the other side and really, really loving where I'm up to in the game. I believe I'm actually behind you in terms of like actual world progress, but I may have potentially you've done more of the optional stuff than you, just based on some of the stuff you've kind of been like kind of hinting at.
Spoiling.
Okay.
But
I'll
I
take
don't
it
know.
offline and ask
Yeah.
him. I am
Yeah.
curious actually what
I don't know,
what's up
but
to.
I'm fairly certain I've done I've been very thorough with this stuff, and I've had, like a lot of people, you have to unfortunately look up some of the questline stuff if you don't want to miss it. But look, that's okay. I'd rather have seen some of the content that I would have missed otherwise. So,
Can I just ask, just on progress, I guess I'll frame the question like this. Do you feel like you've got a near complete map, Swinny?
no.
Okay, interesting.
No, that's what I said. I'm
I
behind.
do, yeah.
I'm behind where Mike is, so I know.
do.
But I know. Look, I know of what's
There's
some of
regions
what's to
and
come.
stuff.
Look,
Yeah.
But
I think I've explored. So I've opened the entire map, and I think everything in the regions that I've done so far, I feel like I've explored pretty much every inch of it. I guaranteed I would have missed stuff.
trophies? Have you got most of those trophies?
I don't know because I haven't been looking at trophies. So I'm
Check
not
them
sure,
out because
but
they do
yeah.
actually have trophies for the main, even for hidden bosses, like
Okay.
key bosses and stuff. So
because I'm pretty systematic. Every time I unlock a new area, so to speak, I just make sure I look everywhere in that area, and sometimes I even go back to previous areas just in case. And there were a few things that I came across where I'm like, oh, geez, like I didn't realize that triggered. I came across a thing, and a certain character had passed away, and they dropped an item, and I'm thinking, oh, there's no way unless I randomly explored that thing, I would have totally completely missed that as part of their playthrough. There are also some really cool things that I don't know if we talked about them before, but you know how you can buy those notes from some of the merchants. One of the notes spoke about a particular enemy that you can attack by using healing spells.
Oh,
I
yeah, I
won't
know about
ruin
this.
which one, but
I know about this.
this is so dumb. I was going through the, I was having trouble with that actually, and I got to a certain point in the game now where, after talking to you, I'm thinking I better go clean up things just to make sure everything's ticked. And as part of that, I looked and read every single note again. And then I read this particular note, and I'm like, which bloody enemy is that referring to? So I tried it on a few enemies. And the one that had worked, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. It makes them so much easier. And they're one of the most annoying enemies in the entire game, by far. It's probably the most annoying enemy. And it just makes them trivial. It's amazing. I love it. So little things like that are
Actually,
in the game and described in the game are so cool.
on the B-roll, if you're watching on YouTube, these are one of the most annoying enemies. Like,
The
I've beaten the
imps.
game. Yeah, I hate these
Yeah.
enemies so much. More just for the rooftop sections that they're there. Sometimes I'm just trying to run through. I don't want to actually stop, and they just like get you out of nowhere. So
So a couple of things I wanted to say. One of the things, and this was kind of one of the lows last week, the fact that, and I was talking with Fintergot earlier actually on the phone, that this game is very different to the Souls games in the sense that if you don't level up Vigor a decent amount, you're going to have such a tough time in this game. Whereas with the Souls games, it's more like, well, you should level up. You can level up Vigor a bit, but it's not absolutely required. Sure, there might be some bosses you will get one shot by. In this game, there are so many bosses and so many enemies that if you don't put a bunch of points into Vigor, you will just get decimated unless you're picked absolutely perfect for every single dodge. And so what that left me a bit frustrated was because I wasn't leveling Vigor, I put a couple of basic points into it. And I'd gone through like half of the game like that. And then I reached a certain point where I'm like, this is just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so in the next like 20 something levels, I poured into Vigor just to kind of make things more manageable. And it felt for me, and the reason what's a bit frustrating was that it didn't feel like I could build my character for that portion of the game how I wanted to. It felt like, well, I have to do this, otherwise I'm just not going to have a good chance to get through because it's just going to be painful. It's going to be more painful and frustrating than anything else. Whereas with the Souls games, it's not like that. And I understand why it's like that because this game is so different in terms of scope and scaling and how they have to manage people getting to different locations in out of order. And like some people might get to the second major area 40 levels above someone else, so they've got to kind of find a way around that. But it was frustrating for me, and thankfully I got past that once I kind of said to myself, okay, I just focus on leveling my health, which is Vigor. I should have said that Vigor gives you extra HP.
Yeah. Because
then it became more like
you're level 40 vigor, and I think I was 40, which is one of the first soft caps where it starts to be less effective as you put points into vigor, and then 60 is like the point where it becomes very ineffective giving any more. It's pretty much no point to scale it up beyond 60. But Mike, what are you at from a vigor perspective now? Do you
he's
remember?
got lots of
50
health.
something.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I was also playing around. I don't normally have that. I was just mucking around.
Yeah,
showing
I
you
told
guys,
you about that as
there's
well.
a certain
you gotta
rune
add more
and
vigor. Yeah.
yeah. But I always put vigor in these games anyway, just because I'm not particularly good at playing the game. I reckon.
No,
So
I think everyone
I
has
always
different
need
styles,
extra,
right?
extra
Everyone has
buffer.
different
But
styles.
I'm very well. I wouldn't because I'd still go with shield. Yet I'm fairly aggressive in the way I play. And more recently, I started going dual katanas. So you definitely need vigor for that.
That's true.
So
And what was there anything else that was not so great?
Oh, look, no. So that's kind of once I finish the game and we kind of collect our thoughts and whether or not it's in form of a full review or not.
I'd love to do one. Yeah.
Then I think I'll probably, because a lot of it's almost a wait and see still. My kind of downsides, I sound like I'm really negative, but you just asked me for this one. So it still stands from earlier, whereas sometimes I think things are scaled up just because they want to be bigger. Whereas other times I'm like, this area being open and everything adds to it. So it's kind of like it's a wait and see for me where I land on it. But the last thing I wanted to say is just in terms of, so you mentioned your quest lines, Mike. The fact that they tie entire locations, some of them considerable size, to quest lines in this game that are completely optional.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild, and I think FromSoft really, really stepped up their game in terms of NPC quests in this game. Like they've gotten a lot more in depth over time with that stuff, but this game they kind of went crazy with a couple of the quests, and it's really, really cool. It's just some of the stuff you're like, oh my god, like this area is just here because it lines up with the the quests that I'm on. So yeah.
Just before you move on to the Game Pass roundup, as you try to play every Game Pass game that comes out outside of sports games, as we always clarify, I think with Elden Ring, we should either do like a half episode, you know what I mean? Like a 76 and a half, or like long form, spoiler casty type of show, I think. Like I'd be really keen to do that because I feel like it's like an hour and a half conversation about this game once you start breaking down the segments and stuff. But before you move on, like for me, still with the NPCs, like it's a funny game, right? Because, the community aspect's a big part of it. It's not like it's not built in a vacuum, right? Like they know that people will talk about the game and the quests, and that's kind of part of the design, I believe. But I still feel like, just like, with the Sites of Grace, where it kind of gives you a bit of an indicative direction of where you should go. I kind of wish the NPC stuff did that to a degree. Like, I don't want like waypoints like like most games do, but just like something a little bit extra, or like I can go into the menu and it's like the last thing that NPC said about that quest, and like a little bit more of a hint. Like some of them are just like impossible. Like, sorry.
Yeah, and this
Like-
conversation just forget and yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot. And I was like, shit.
There was
I wanted to do
one-
the Rani quest by myself, and I'm like, I've forgotten where I was up to. Like,
With her quest, one of the hints as to how to do one of the particular steps again is in one of those notes, and it's super esoteric.
Yeah.
It's there though, and you're like, oh, and then you spend half an hour trying to find that exact thing that it's telling you to do, and you finally do, and like, wow, a little bit more help would have been cool, but
yeah. Look, I'm
Still
really
awesome.
looking forward to getting into it. So when you guys finish it, like, and you feel comfortable that we do it, like in hopefully a couple of weeks or something like that, would be really cool to do a big deep dive in it. But yes, Game Pass games.
Oh, I'm just going to talk about something
sorry, yeah,
quickly
go on.
before that. I didn't put in there because it was not something like. I'm just going to quickly mention. So I picked up some games this week.
Oh, yeah.
Some relate to my my resolution of the
yes,
PlayStation pile of shame. So the first one, I'm going to be playing myself some Last Guardian,
yes.
which
Nice.
I love Eco, I love or Ico, however you say, it, and the Shadows of Colossus. Got myself the Wipeout collection, which is
Okay, interesting.
I'm super looking forward
That's
to.
unexpected.
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
That's awesome. How much did you pay for that? Like not full price. That's
so
like...
no, it was pre-owned and
okay.
it was like $68. Or
That's not
I'm
too
like,
bad.
you know what? I think that's pretty good considering the full cost of these games these days.
Can I just say, I know you're not doing reviews or anything. That game to me still is the best looking game that I've seen ever.
I'm looking forward to trying it.
Ever. Damn.
And a game I've been
Okay.
super pumped to try because it's the kind of game that I think I may like, who knows, which is Buy Mint. I've been wanting to pick this up for a while when it dropped cheap. So that'll be something I play soon.
Very nice.
Game
Nice,
Pass.
very good.
So let's
Game
talk about
Pass.
some Game Pass. So honestly, not going to go too long on some of these ones because some of them I didn't play for that long. But the first game on my list is Crossfire X. So I've been curious about this for a while, ever since Xbox was pushing it all the time. I'm like, okay, this game looks like a generic shooter, but I wanted to see if it like had anything more to it. I'm like, why are they pumping this game so much? Other than the fact that the game apparently is one of the biggest games in the world, the multiplayer
Really?
game. Yes,
I don't know
it
that.
is.
Wow, I'm so blind to that. Really?
Yeah, Crossfire X is one of the
Holy
biggest games
shit.
in the Asia markets.
So if I go on Steam charts, it's like on there.
I don't know if it's even like I don't know where. Like all I know is Crossfire X is one of the biggest games. Like that's the thing is I don't know if it's played on Steam in those markets. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
So, but the thing is, what they did is, so they brought this to Xbox. So the multiplayer side is almost basically like their take on like Counter-Strike style gameplay. But I was interested in trying the campaign, which is made by Remedy. So I'm like, okay, why would Remedy work on this game? Like it seemed really, like a really weird fit.
Yeah.
And so I go to play it, and I had a bug where I couldn't even play the campaign because it couldn't connect to the server. And I'm like, oh my God. And I looked it up, and people were like, oh, swap to a guest account, then you can log in. I'm like, so I did that. I logged in. I'm like, okay, I don't care if I play the campaign on a guest account, whatever. It says, you need to purchase the campaign. I'm like, wait, no, this is a Game Pass game. Like, they wouldn't make it. It's because I was on a guest account, and the guest account doesn't pick up the fact that it's bloody Game Pass. So I log back out, log back in, I'm able to play on my main account. Then it's like, install the campaign. I'm, oh my bloody God, I didn't install the campaign when I installed the main game. So I finally get in there. I played this game for about 4 missions, and it's just an average first-person shooter. Like, it's 360 reference. There's nothing special about it. I just don't... Like, it's exactly what I was thinking it was, but I didn't... Like, I'm like, no, surely it's not, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's average, but it also feels like the shooting just feels really wonky. The AI is horrible. Like it runs at 30 frames a second on Series X as well, which just feels wrong for this style of game.
Can I just say, it feels like you've dived into unpopular gaming opinions, given how
Yeah,
unpopular this
maybe
game
just
is.
wait. Yeah.
I don't
Hold that thought.
I don't think shitting on Crossfire X is an unpopular gaming
Oh,
opinion.
look, the frame rate's even in the B-roll. Oh no, wait, that was the bullets left in the clip.
Anyway,
Uh,
I was just gonna say it's like, and Remedy definitely try their like have their fingerprints on the story side. They try like dream sequences, and I'm like, it just doesn't work. It's just so forced in what is just an average first-person shooter. It looks pretty at least.
Is it a co-op experience like Destiny? What kind of?
No, it's just like you play mission to mission to mission. Now, if there's a co-op mode that I don't know about, maybe there is, but I imagine the co-op mode's probably closer to the standard, like, because Crossfire X is made predominantly a multiplayer game. But I was just interested because Remedy worked on this. I'm like, if I was Remedy, I would probably not want this on my studio list of games that we've made. It just feels really weird. Anyway,
I mean, the reviews are brutal. It's like 39 on Metacritic.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah,
like, I
people
mean,
play it
you're
a
being
lot.
nice to it, if anything.
yeah. Look, I only played through 4 missions, so maybe it gets worse.
I have to admit, I've never heard of this game, Crossfire, and it's like 1 billion players have played it. Like, what
Billion.
the
It can't be
freak?
a billion.
That's what they're saying. Lifetime total, 1 billion players across 80 countries.
No.
That's
I
huge in
would
China,
believe it.
supposedly.
Yeah, that's it.
How can one in what is
8
it?
people,
7
sure.
odd 8
I think there's
people
8
on the
billion.
planet
Yeah. It says users.
Even play these kind of games. Nah, it's bullshit.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah,
Could
users.
be halving or
yeah.
1/3 of that
maybe
number.
half of that.
Probably
yeah.
bots.
That,
and
but
stuff.
dude, like, let's just say it's 100 million players. That's like,
Yeah, okay, that's
I've never heard
whatever.
of this
It's
game.
impressive. Yeah.
I've
but-
never heard of this game in my life. You know?
damn.
Like, so it makes more sense now because this is from 2007 in Korea. This game came from, so that's why it's not on Steam as well. That makes sense now. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Weird.
Okay, next game. Skull the Hero Slayer. So this game, when I was looking at it and I started playing, I'm like, this game actually looks like could be pretty cool. So you play as like a demon character you basically play as the bad guy. It's almost like Underhero in a way. And you're taking on like the heroes and stuff. So it's an action platformer, and I really liked it at first, and then it became apparent it's a roguelite.
It's a rogue. Yeah.
And I'm like,
I had the same problem with it. I tried it. I'm like, no.
Oh, so you did try this, okay?
Yep, I tried it as well. Yeah.
And I did lose pretty much all my interest in the game at that point. But in saying that, it's because it's a roguelite predominantly in the fact that you'll do runs and the levels are randomized, but you do have permanent character upgrades. So it's kind of like a rogue. It is really a roguelite in that sense.
And aren't there many characters? As in, you can be.
So what it is basically your character can pick up. I think you can purchase them on runs or unlock them. But honestly, I didn't play enough to understand exactly how this works. But you have different heads that you can put on, and what that does is it changes your moveset. And you can swap between them. So basically, in the footage at the moment, you can have abilities on the triggers, and they're on cooldowns. Which, for like a side-scrolling action game, having abilities on a cooldown just feels a bit wrong to me. But whatever. But basically, you can swap between them, and it changes the gameplay style completely in terms of the movesets and everything. And yeah, look, it looked nice. It controlled okay, but I don't know, something about the enemies just didn't. It felt like, honestly, the game's a little unfair. I think like it's pretty damn tough. But like all the enemies explode when you kill them, and you're like, oh man, I'm just kind of. It just didn't click with me at all. I'm sure there's a great game there. I know it's reviewed pretty well from some places, but I think it's the kind of game where you really need to be into that stuff for it to
Yeah, that echoes my thoughts exactly. Because I tried it as well, and I'm like, whoa, right up my alley, platforming, sprites, this is really cool. And then I realized, damn, it's a roguelite. And I don't know what it is about it. And I don't want to jump into the final segment, but it's fine. I'm covering other things, so I can talk about it now.
I'm expecting both of you to say, oh, this roguelite shit.
Roguelite shit. I don't think they're shit. I mean, I enjoyed quite a few of the games in the genre, but I do get put off by them, and I think that's just because of this preconception in my head that I have to spend a lot of time repeating the same shit over and over again to progress anywhere, and I just can't be bothered anymore. I don't have time for that shit. So,
I do get that psychology. I feel like if you have a roguelike or light, you better have a good gameplay mechanic, and the game feel needs to be top notch, like literally 9 out of 10 minimum. Otherwise, it feels very painful. It's like, oh my God, like it just doesn't, the gameplay loop, the 5-minute loop doesn't feel great. It's just, I get that.
For me, the game didn't feel that great as well, which is probably what kind of made me go, look, I'm not going to spend any more time with this. So again, this is just me trying. I'm not reviewing these games or anything. So, but yeah.
What else?
So I tried out a game that's been kicking around for quite a while, but just recently got onto Game Pass, which is Besiege. So Besiege is basically, and it's been like in different forms of early access for years on PC and everything, but it's really fun, like contraption / like siege weapon building game where you got a whole bunch of pieces. You can put them together like blocks. You have to make sure, like things are weighted properly. They've got supports if you're going to create these crazy structures. And it's very much a sophisticated version of Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts in terms of how you're building these vehicles. But what you do is you're basically given a challenge on each level, and it's okay, kill this amount of enemies without like taking X damage or whatever, or knock down these structures. And you can just go wild building crazy stuff. Now, I'm sure there's modes where it restricts you on what you can and can't use and everything. But it's really, really fun. I've watched a lot of this game in the past from, I think it's Vinny from formerly of Giant Bomb and now Nextlander. Like, it's really fun to watch streams of people that are really into this stuff and they create really, really cool contraptions and it's just really funny and stuff. The problem is I made the mistake of trying this game out on console. And this is not a game that I think works well with controller at all. Like, I tried... And my recommendation, if this sounds interesting, and again, it's on Game Pass, so you can try it. Definitely try it out on PC, where you can probably control it much better.
So that was the question I was going to ask you. But you've got a PC. Can you get it on Game Pass PC?
I can, but I'd already downloaded and played through it, so I wasn't going to just go and try it just for that. Like, the thing is that the game wasn't going to drastically change. It's just a recommendation. If someone's interested in this, I'd recommend to try it out on PC.
Looks pretty cool.
I don't know if it applies to all games, and I'm sure we covered this and I forgot. But for example, Weird West syncs, so you can play it on your console. I was playing it in bed on my Xbox One, then I played it on the Series X in the living room when I was there, and then I played it on the PC when I was in the other room, and all the progress completely.
It depends on the game.
I think it depends on the game.
It's not universal. If a game is play anywhere, then the progress
you can
syncs.
do it,
yeah.
Which, by the way, I actually think is freaking amazing that you can do that. You can just go chill in bed, play on a completely different platform with totally different controls, by the way, because it feels... And it's weird because it sort of feels like it's designed with console in mind, because on PC you move. It's not a point and click thing. It's not like the normal typical CRPGs where you click to go somewhere. You use the WASD to move around. So it's fascinating. Back to you.
All right, the last game, and this is going to be a very interesting one for me to talk about.
Timely. This is timely. I think
Very timely.
It is very timely. Is F1 2021.
And can I pause you for a second? I appreciate in the B-roll that you picked the Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah,
as the
and
track.
amazing driving, by the way. I never knew you were so good at it.
Shit. And there's a reason why I chose this is because honestly, that's... I didn't play this game that much because I knew once I tried it, it's like, okay, I'm just giving it a shot to see what it's like. I only played about 4 tracks and they're all time trials because what I want to do is after I did the first race on Melbourne, of course, Albert Park,
Of course.
I went around looking at the track close up, like going around looking to see if they had like modeled MSAC, the Melbourne Sports and Aquatic Centre. Had they modeled? Had they modeled the apartment blocks on Queen's Parade? Because I live in Melbourne, so it's like interesting to look at this and the fact that this road. For years, when I was driving to work, I used to drive down, or at least like partial part of the Albert Park road there. So it's just bizarre to then play it in a Formula One game. I know it's obviously been in other Formula One games, but I haven't played them. So for me, this was more just a chance to, okay, look, the game seems pretty good. It's obviously not my thing. I'm not into racing sims and definitely not F1 myself. I'm sure, I don't know, Mike, you can say it seemed like a good one of those, but I don't.
Yeah, the F1 series
anything.
were actually really, really good.
Yeah.
Really awesome games.
So, yeah, that was my time with it, is mainly spent driving around, seeing if I could see the sights on the Melbourne track. So that was a fun experience. Very different.
Congrats to Charles Leclerc, who won the race today. So, but yeah, I do like how you use that as the B-roll. That's very entertaining. I'm always very fearful of playing those racing games, though, because I just feel like I just want to go get a wheel if I start playing those games.
And might I say, because I think we've spoken about it on the show, it is amazing with a wheel, especially if you have the manual shifter. Of course, not applicable to an F1 car, but if you use normal cars, it's so good.
But then I started to look at it and I'm like, and then those car frame things are like $300. That's not very expensive.
What? Car frame?
You know where you like sit into it?
Oh yeah, one of those. Yeah. Those are worth it because sitting on your couch.
Do you have one?
No, I have the stand, which is fairly solid, but I just use a chair or a couch. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not as good, but I actually want to get a proper setup with a seat and everything, so you sit properly.
You do, and I remember you crapping on those people buying those arcade cabinets, saying it takes up too much space.
Yeah, but this is kind of different.
Really?
Because I like
because
it.
with those arcade because
different.
with those arcade cabinets, they only play one freaking game. That's it.
What are you talking about?
Setup,
Arcade cabinets can play like
the ones
a game.
No, the ones we're talking about specifically.
Arcade one up. Yeah.
Those were the ones I was crapping on about. Normal arcade machine, hell yeah, they're freaking awesome. They're sweet. It'd be
Okay,
awesome if they're in everyone's house. But this is different because you can play literally probably
You got him, Swinny. You got
tens
him.
of hundreds of games.
The only reason
that
I just
setup?
randomly it came to mind, I was telling Indigo about this before,
That's
is
funny.
I randomly listened to the start of that episode the other day because I was driving, and that was no, sorry, it was the episode after where you responded to someone calling you ignorant, and you framed the thing on your wall.
Still have that.
It
That
was
was
amazing. It was amazing.
Still have that.
That was one of my
And by the way,
favorite
might I
moments.
add, Swinny, the setup that I have folds up, and I just put it behind the couch, in case you're wondering. So I do have my space benefit. Thank you very much.
But no, we're talking about the frame though. The frame doesn't fold up.
No, the frame for the actual. So I don't have the full frame. I just have the one that's the stand where you could put the shifter onto it and the pedals attached to it and all that jazz. And then the whole mechanism, you can kind of just do this latch thing and it just completely folds up into this thing and you just store it somewhere.
The one thing I would say about the frame is, even though we've spoken about this many times, that I'll never say that I'm a gamer at work because you can't reveal that. But I have to, and I'm comfortable if someone actually saw me like playing games in my room or whatever. But then I do think if I had that frame and I was sitting in there and someone had a photo of me racing in the frame at home in front of my HD TV, that I might feel a little bit nervous. I might sweat a little
I
bit.
could see that, but at the same time, I'd love to be able to afford a good enough sports car to take to the track, plus the cost involved in taking to the track on a frequent basis. Now, obviously, that in many ways, it's still better than driving an actual game, but way cheaper doing it in a game in the comfort of your own home and safer too. So
We should go go-karting when I'm down in Melbourne.
definitely, I love go-karting.
All right, we should organise that. Would you
Let's
go
do it.
go-karting, Swinny?
Maybe.
All right.
We went for
Being
I don't know.
non-committal.
Is Joe on the show? Is Joe listening?
Actually,
tonight?
you should definitely go, Swinny, because then we can have the Bigwig Cup.
Yeah.
And let's bring turtles and banana peels.
Is the Bigwig Cup going to be on your Mario Kart tier list that you're not doing ever?
Oh, shots fired. All right, I'll talk about what I'm playing to move on the conversation. So I got the wrong footage here. Oh, no. What's happened?
wasn't
I've
the
got the
wrong
wrong footage. It doesn't matter anyway.
That's okay.
So I finished Spider-Man Remastered. Very good game. Enjoyed it. I actually got to I think it was 95% complete in the game, which kind of surprised me actually. And I was looking at the trophy list, and then ultimately, I think Mike has given me a lot of wisdom in this space. I was kind of a bit like, why am I going to go get all these trophies? Like what's the point? I don't really care. I've only got one platinum trophy, which is Astro, because I really love that game so much. So then I moved on. But yeah, it's a great game. I might come back to finishing the trophies. I haven't done the DLC though in Spider-Man Remastered. I haven't heard great things about the DLC, but I did enjoy the game a lot. And then there's obviously Miles Morales. Every time I say Miles Morales, I'm very careful and slow in when I say it, because I do feel like I'm going to say Moranis. Weirdly enough, it actually made me want to watch the movie No Way Home. So I started watching that movie, which is the first
that's
Marvel-ish
really good.
movie I've watched since Iron Man, right? To give you the context. And I was blown away at how shit the VFX were.
Oh damn.
I was like, what the fuck? This
Wait, am I
looks
thinking
so
about the same
shit
thing?
and
Is
fake.
this the animated one or is this the
No, this
proper
is the latest movie that came out in the cinema
Oh, okay. So
a
I'm
few months
thinking,
ago.
I'm thinking about a different one. I'm
I
thinking
was
about the animated one. That
shocked
was
at
really
how
good.
bad it looked. Like, I actually asked my wife, I'm like, hey, just watch this. Like, tell me what you think. So she starts watching it and she's like, yeah, this kind of Spider-Man looks a bit like rubbery or like, like, I don't know, like fake. I'm like, like, what the hell? Like, do people not notice this? This blew me away.
I just think just some people just don't care as much as you, like me.
But I don't care. I was just like, this is $1 billion movie. Like, I don't say this about Star Wars or anything else, like, because they don't look like that. It just
Like
looks
that
so
Pokemon game.
so
$1
cheap.
billion
Yeah, it's like the Pokemon thing.
and they
Exactly.
just don't give a fuck.
So I got about 20 minutes in, and then I'm like, this is the most boring movie. So I just said, see you later.
You know that is considered, a lot of people consider that one of the best Marvel movies.
Oh, I know,
Wow.
but that's like saying something, right? Yeah, what else have I been playing? Triangle Strategy. So I got back into like, what is happening to all of my B-roll? So I got back to playing this again. Now that I'm going into work, I'm bringing my Switch again. And yeah, like triangle strategy is really great. I'm struggling because I'm more of a Fire Emblem kind of player with these games. So I don't like losing any of my troops when I'm fighting, but you don't like lose them permanently. There's no permadeath. But maybe I'm not really understanding the game. I need to like maybe read some guides on it, because like straight from the start, it's like, hey, enter this if you're level 3 or 4 or whatever it is. And I'm like, I've done everything. How am I underleveled? Like, and there's no side quests or like side things to do. Or like maybe I've missed it or misunderstood something in the game. But I think this is just me being a bit of a psycho and pedantic. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I still am a bit like disappointed a little bit about the graphics, just because it is a bit blurry, a bit fuzzy, even on like the small portable screen and on the big screen. I think for most people, like when it hits PC and you can just run it like full bore, like most people would prefer that version. And then it'll come to the PS5 and everything like that eventually. I know we spoke about this last time, Swinny, but is Octopath, is that on Xbox yet?
It's on Game Pass.
Oh, it's on Game Pass. That's right. Yeah. Cool.
But it's the kind of game that I will obviously play, but I know it's going to be a big one, so
yeah,
I don't mind buying that game even if it drops out of Game Pass. So
yeah, it's a quite long game, like ridiculously long game, and this game is super long as well. Like, so I'm not even sure if I'll get to the end of this. I'll just play enough that I'm satisfied. And then the last thing I started playing as my main kind of game after Spider-Man is God of War, 2016's God of War.
Oh, it's like you're doing your own PlayStation Hall of Fame challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
It has become a bit like that, Swinny. Yeah. Like this game, I don't know, I'm probably like 2 hours into it. It hasn't gripped me yet. Like
how come?
I'm just kind of like, my expectations of this game are too high, right? I think for sure. Because I've heard people say this is their favorite game of all time, right? So I'm kind of going, okay, This is going to be something that's just completely mind-blowing. And I mean, one thing I will say is the acting, the voice acting, when I say the acting, like the mocap acting, the voice acting, like you can feel the QA and the money poured on this game. Like the level of quality, I think it's the most that I've ever seen in a game. Like probably not even close, to be honest. But yeah, I'm just not like loving it so far. I'm still playing it. I still want to play it, so that's a good sign. But
God, you're getting in early on these,
yeah, I know.
I'm shitting on Spider-Man. No
Save
Way
some
Home.
for later.
No Way Home.
God of War.
Mr.
Yeah.
Negative. Oh.
I don't know. Like, but I would still. Look, the thing is with this game, I would even find it very difficult to give it like an 8 out of 10, just because it's so polished. But that probably my heart is saying like an 8 out of 10. But I'm only super early into it. And maybe it picks up. Maybe it's also just like playing Elden Ring.
I was going to say.
And then playing a bunch of other games.
Yeah.
Probably unfair, maybe, because Elden Ring's way more up my alley. And, just the combat mechanic of this game, it's not quite in my head yet. Of like, throwing the axe, retrieving the axe, getting your son to like attack the enemies. I can see the flow of combat, but I'm a bit like, man, there's a lot to do. Like, there's a lot of management going on. It's not super fun, but I actually regret almost starting this game, because I think in retrospect, I probably should have played Guardians of the Galaxy on Game Pass. Because I don't know. Like that feels like a light game that would be pretty cool to play. But I'll persist with this. It's not a super long game. So yeah, hopefully I haven't like completely lost the audience as I keep playing through this game. We're gonna play
you lost
next.
You lost the Marvel audience. You lost the God of War audience. Yeah.
Well, the Marvel audience, I've already said I don't like Marvel movies. I tried. I really did try with it. I was like super amped actually to watch the new Spider-Man movie. And I kind of know the spoilers roughly. I probably don't know all of the spoilers in the latest movie.
How have you watched the 3 Raimi movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I've seen No, actually, I think I've only seen Spider-Man 1 and 2. I don't think I saw Spider-Man 3.
Oh, yeah, okay. Like, I think, I was just saying, just checking, because obviously, like, a lot of that is, it's so fan servicey. It's crazy, this movie. But anyway.
Yeah, and no, that's what I mean, though. I was, like, all for it. Like, like, you know, I've always said this, but, like, the movie's way too long, right? So even parts of the start, I'm like, oh, my God. Like, I know why they're setting these things up, but it's, like, just boring to me. Like, just get into the movie. But like, I definitely prefer the Raimi movies. But I love Sam Raimi as a director. I think I've watched most of his stuff. So yeah, but not that I'll watch the new Doctor Strange movie because he's directing that, isn't he, Swinny?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably doesn't reach the threshold for me. Sorry.
It is fascinating with you know, popular opinions, and it's quite appropriate that we're going to talk about it a bit later on as a segment. But I was watching a movie the other day, and I'm not going to mention the movie or anything, but I remember watching it going, are you fucking serious? The story's just so many plot holes.
What movie is this?
The Godfather Part 2.
No, it wasn't The Godfather Part 2.
That's so awesome. That's freaking awesome.
No, when it comes to popular movie opinions, I do respect quite a lot of the films that get in a lot of the top 10 lists. But anyway, I'm curious what people are saying about this on. I don't even bloody remember now. It was it's a new one with the lady that was in Mad Men and
Jessica Jones.
No, she was in Mad Men and she was also in
That's not
Handmaid's Tale.
By the way.
Oh, yeah, I know the actress you're talking about.
Elizabeth something, isn't it?
I don't remember her name.
Familiar, yeah.
More something with them.
Yeah, but what movie is it?
I don't remember the name of it. You're asking the dude
How
who doesn't
old
even
is it,
remember
though?
what he did on last
Wait,
last
did you
week's
actually
episode.
watch this movie? Or?
I watched the entire thing from start to finish. Yeah,
No, I
Okay.
need to know what this movie is. Like,
Elizabeth
Alright.
Moss. Elizabeth Moss.
that's her. Yeah.
so
Whatever.
alright, I'm looking
It's a
at her
recent
films.
film. I'm pretty sure it's a recent film.
But like,
Spit
what
the
is it?
names out.
Is it horror? Is
it's
it
not
what?
the
Yeah, it's like a
invisible.
horror.
It's not the Invisible Man.
That's the one. It's the Invisible
That's
Man.
ages
the
ago.
one.
That movie. Okay.
That's what I'm
Was
thinking.
it?
I'm like, it's not that.
That's a
movie.
bad movie
Okay.
though.
A lot of people like
Go
that
to
movie.
Rotten Tomatoes. Bloody 92 fresh.
Yeah, but no, Rotten Tomatoes isn't. It's
No,
a
but even
90%. It
IMDb.
just means that 90% of people gave it okay.
It was
But
reviewed. Like, I watched at the time. I watched reviews of that, and
Yeah.
some people loved that.
Okay.
Some people really did, and even IMDb and stuff. And I'm sitting there going, "What the f?" Like, there's so many dumb things about this film. It's insane. And reading through the comments, some people did point out all this shit, and I'm like, "Thank you. It's not just me."
Can I
but
just
the
say-
overwhelming population, it's like, "Oh, it's a great film." Fuck off.
We've just done like a mini unpopular opinions of movies. Like I'm shitting over Marvel movies and you're shitting over like the new age of horror movies that are happening at the moment.
Unpopular opinion: Godfather Part 3 is actually a good film.
Oh, like yeah, but it's not as good as the first two.
No.
I can accept that. Like that you could say it's okay. Like people shit on that movie like crazy. It's not like a Marvel movie. Jeez.
No.
All right.
You know what people don't shit on though? LucasArts games. Let's talk about those.
Well, this is not a LucasArts game, but let's get into Swinny doing it.
Oh, it's pretty close to one. So we had very surprising, and for me, some of the most amazing gaming news in a long time. We had LucasArts classic adventure series Monkey Island is making a comeback, and it's being helmed by series creators Ron Gilbert and David, I believe. I say David Grossman. I don't know if that's exactly
That
how
sounds
you
right.
say it. And so the reason I say it's kind of LucasArts is because it is in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games, the new rebranded gaming division of Lucasfilm. And the game will be developed by Gilbert's Terrible Toy Box Studio. So they did Thimbleweed Park, and published by Devolver Digital. So this game's actually been in development for about 2 years. And I say in secret because I haven't heard any rumors or anything about this game at all until this announcement. I think it's one of the craziest, like, not craziest, but it's like normally this stuff that gets rumored and leaked, and this just kind of came out of nowhere. So it's coming this year, but there's no consoles or platforms, I should say, confirmed. Now PC is obvious, but who knows where else it's going to be. But one of the things that I love about this is kind of Gilbert, who's naturally a funny guy. Just obviously he is a writer of these classic games, and he also worked on like Maniac Mansion, Day of the Tentacle, and all this stuff. It's basically him, Grossman, and Tim Schafer are kind of like some of the key people behind those early LucasArts games. But basically, in 2013, he tweeted out, "If I ever get to make another Monkey Island, I'm going to announce it on April 1st, Fool's Day." Then a blog post on April Fool's this year on his Grumpy Gamer blog. "For 18 years, the Grumpy Gamer blog has been April Fool's free because it's a stupid tradition. So to mix things up a little, I'm going to take this opportunity to announce I've decided to make another Monkey Island." And then 3 days later, there was the actual announcement. He was. So I think that's great.
That's really cool.
That's long form joke there. Like long period. That's great.
I agree with his opinion on April Fools as well. Just wanted to mention that.
As do I.
So I mentioned that, he's worked on a lot of stuff, but he also worked on like The Cave, which is a really good game. He worked actually with Double Fine on that one, I believe. The Death Spank series, which is absolutely hilarious. I love that series. And even the Putt Putt series. And he's worked on so many of those games. If you guys that don't know, Putt Putt's like a edutainment kind of like point and click. Yeah, it's massive. And he basically was behind all those games.
I didn't know that, yeah.
But he only worked on the first 2 Monkey Island games. So when we talk about Monkey Island, we've got the first game was Secret of Monkey Island. Then we got Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge. Then Curse of Monkey Island, which is actually the first one I played. Escape from Monkey Island. Then the episodic Tales of Monkey Island. And then we had the 2 special editions around 12 years ago. So it's been 12 years even since those special editions came out, which is crazy. So long time since we've had another Monkey Island in some form or another. So,
but can I say that Monkey Island is one of the few series where there are people who are associated as the creator of it, like multiple people, when it's not correct, right? But Tim Schafer, a lot of the times people almost credit him as a creator of the series. Or like he's the Monkey Island guy, which is like totally wrong.
I thought of that.
Yeah, Tim Schafer, yeah, definitely. But Tim Schafer's very, like, they've all had their hands in different, amounts in these games and everything. But I think for him, Grim Fandango was the big kind of Tim Schafer game. I think that kind of really put him on the map. But
Wicked game.
But basically, so what is this? So it's obviously a sequel in some form. There's been a lot of people saying that, okay, it potentially would take the place of what Monkey Island 3 would have been if Gilbert had stayed on to work on it. And some people are like, okay, Gilbert's talked around for years about if he could make a Monkey Island 3A, then he'd do this and this and this and this. But the teaser trailer they had actually had Murray the Talking Skull. And
Murray.
Murray was added in Curse of Monkey Island. So that was the game that Gilbert wasn't involved with. And he's outright said since on Twitter that no, look, he's not completely like saying those other games don't exist with this because Murray, for example, is included. So yeah, and so to me, this is just honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing what the gameplay looks like. I do like the art style and everything they showed in the teaser. But this might actually end up being my take the spot as my top anticipated game that hasn't come out yet this year over like Starfield.
I can see why.
I'm so pumped
love
for
the
this.
previous games.
I was thinking about this like all day when they announced it. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so ready for a new Monkey Island.
Nerd.
I didn't play all the episodes of Tales of Monkey Island. Gilbert was actually, I believe, I don't know if he was a consultant or he was involved in some form in those games. Okay. And I know a good friend of ours actually enjoyed those games. But other really cool stuff is Dominic Armato, I believe. I don't know how to say that exactly, but the voice of Guybrush Threepwood, he's back, so that's awesome.
Cool.
And as I mentioned, Murray the Skull's also back as well. But also a trio of composers that worked on the original games are back. So we've got Michael Land, Peter McConnell, and Clint Barjakayan. I can't. You guys help me out. Can you guys say that?
No.
no. You just leave me out to die on a hill. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it'd be Bayakian.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Maybe.
What is it? It's where Kim Kardashian's from. What's that? The Armenian, right? That's an Armenian last name, isn't
Thank
it?
you, Mike. I appreciate it.
I
don't know if it's right.
I was
by the way,
drowning out there and you threw me a life. So I'm super pumped for this, obviously.
Gotta look out for my wife.
By the way, he is from that area, so...
Yeah, but we totally different names.
That's all the same.
Yeah.
Cool.
But just a quick thing about Monkey Island. I mean, I love the games as well, so I'm really looking forward to this one. I still remember how many little elements I still use in conversation sometimes when I talk about El Polo Diablo,
Yeah.
or when someone pisses me off and I think to myself, I want to tar and feather them alive. Like, things like that just came as influences from this game, which is
I
really cool.
I wish like all that stuff was super mainstream public knowledge, because I'd always use how appropriate you fight like a cow. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
I'd
Stuff
use that
like
in daily
yeah.
conversation. If people like, if you
Yeah.
said that and to anyone, you'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" You know. So, but it's even funny. Like Valhalla had their like, it's almost like not rap battle, but it's basically like, you know, had like insult battles, and it was pretty much exactly lifted from the Monkey Island games. So I'm looking forward to what they do with this. So.
It is interesting because there's kind of conflicting reports about whether it's a continuation or a sequel to the second game, which he wrote, and then take elements from the other games that have gone on. I mean, we'll see soon. So
I think the key is the fact that he said, like a lot of people saying, are looking at previous things he said in the past, but the fact that he outright tweeted said, no, like it's not like the other games are still canon.
yes,
So
yes.
it's just it might take place around that time, and I can't remember
That's
exactly.
That's what I wonder.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I know Guybrush was like in a boat, a prisoner's boat or something that started number 3 of the Curse of Monkey Island, but I'd be interested to know, okay, do they tell a story that falls in the middle of that? So
No, that's pretty cool. You know, the only thing about it is from an announcement point of view, I would have, like, I wouldn't have had much more of an impact if it's in the next Nintendo Direct. Not that they can force that, right? But I just think if it was in, like, had more of a spotlight, it would have been bigger news, don't you think?
yeah, sometimes you got to take your business hat off though and just enjoy it.
I don't know. And also, is it thimbleweed or timbleweed? What did you call it?
I think it's Thimbleweed.
Yeah, I thought
I
it was
think-
thimbleweed.
Yeah, I thought I said Thimbleweed. That's what I
Oh,
meant to say.
okay,
That
okay,
too.
okay,
Have you guys played that? Because I
Yeah.
started
Little bit,
it
little
on.
bit of it.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
but the
awesome.
thing is, it's one of those games. It's a classic like Day of the Tentacle style. So it's one it. If you're into that,
totally.
it's pretty fun. I just
have it on
I haven't
Switch, so-
I haven't completed it. So.
Okay.
Okay, cool. No, yeah. I look. How many other games are there going to be released this year that haven't been announced yet? Right? Like, I seriously wouldn't be shocked if like a Mario game came out this year, just because like I think so many people are nervous about, hey, the game is coming out in 6 months' time, and then missing that date. Delaying.
Well-
Not everyone wants to do that. So
We got to have the announcement of Deck 13's Egyptians and alien shit. Souls like so.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Imagine
Alright.
if that happens. That would be the craziest.
That'd be
shit
awesome.
ever.
That would be funny. That would be very funny. All right, moving on to our final story of the show. Lego and Epic Games have announced a long-term partnership to shape the future of the Metaverse. I need like something on the soundboard to be related to Metaverse.
The Metaverse.
With a focus on building a safe space for young players. So there are no details of any actual game or digital platform at this time. In a joint statement, quote, "The family-friendly digital experience will give kids access to tools that will empower them to become confident creators and deliver amazing play opportunities in a safe and positive space." Sounds like the kind of stuff that I talk about at work. So 3 principles will guide their partnership. Protect children's right to play by making safety and well-being a priority. Safeguard children's privacy by putting their best interests first. Empower children and adults with tools that give them control over their digital experience. I feel like these are almost like shots across Roblox bow. But yeah, what the hell is this going to be, Swinny?
I mean, it is going to be a platform along the lines of Roblox, clearly. Now, not, or at least what Roblox.
Minecraft as well.
Yeah, Minecraft, but also like what Roblox kind of was, and that's kind of evolved to its own crazy thing. But I actually like this news because this stuff, a lot of this stuff is inevitable. Some of it's going to fail quickly, some of it will last. But if I was going to like pick 2 companies to do this and like trust that they would actually do it in a way that wouldn't be predatory, monetized in a way that is like Roblox is, which is just absolutely insane. And like, there's enough reporting out there about what Roblox does and everything there. These are two great companies to do it. You've got Epic with honestly the fantastic stuff they do with Fortnite. Other than the monetization part, the way they build their communities, the way they do their events and stuff, and the way they've created this world that is almost like a metaverse in its own way. And Lego is just a trusted brand in general. And the reason I say this stuff is inevitable is that I look at stuff that my nephews and nieces are, into, the stuff that they unfortunately watch on YouTube. And this stuff, like, it's a lot of that stuff is so unmoderated, and it's kind of just a wild west at the moment. And when you like think about the safety of the kids and the privacy aspect there, it's kind of nuts. So I'm actually for this news, but obviously we'll see what they end up doing. So
I think I'm with you in the sense that. Sorry, Intigod, if you were going to say something.
Go.
So I'm with you absolutely in the sense that if there was a company, I don't trust Epic at all. They're the complete opposite of a trustworthy company from the perspective of
But why do you say
making
that?
games to get people hooked on those games and being, child friendly and all that shit. No, I don't think that at all about Epic. But Lego, absolutely. To this day, Lego do not have guns as part of any of their sets. They have fake guns in fake universes, like Star Wars, obviously, that's playing now, but they do not have real world guns. They don't have real world tanks, real world fighter jets, nothing like that.
can I ask? So you say Epic now, other than the monetization aspect, like, what's wrong with Fortnite in that regard?
And can I just expand on that? Like,
Yep.
I don't understand why people shit on Epic all the time. I feel like
I don't shit on Epic.
Just wait. Like, if you look at, just say, let's take the top tier, players in the free to play market, right? Like 10 of them. I feel like Epic is the least damaging, and they were the first ones to get rid of loot boxes. They led the whole industry with that. I don't understand why people hate Epic outside.
No, I don't hate Epic. All I'm
Fortnite,
saying is
right?
I just don't trust them inherently the way maybe Swinny does. I trust Lego in that sense inherently because they have a proven record of doing very child friendly things. I don't think getting kids hooked on Fortnite is child friendly at all. I think it's fucked up. And we've spoken about this before. That's why I don't inherently trust them. Are they the worst in the industry? Hell no. Far from it. They're not that bad. And they actually do quite a few things. So I'm not shitting over Epic just because it's Epic. But I certainly don't give them the same, prestige in the child-focused industry as Swinny would.
No, but what I'm saying is, if you take that, what they've done with Fortnite, then you put a layer of it being kid friendly on
as
that.
As a joint effort, absolutely, yeah.
I can 100% see it, because it's very easy to look at Fortnite, and I say this as a non-player, but it's very easy to look at Fortnite and say, how could you adapt something? Obviously that's a game with battle royale modes and stuff, but I could easily see how you adapt that same model, but then you strip out the elements that aren't kid friendly. I can easily see that. Just simply like what they did with Fortnite was nothing short of incredible in terms of building up a community and a platform. So that's why I trust them.
So that's the part where I totally agree with you, and I think again, absolutely inevitable because this is just the world that we live in. But that's the thing. This is the world that we live in today. I can't help whenever I see stuff like this to think of my childhood and my playing with Lego and the way I experienced my life growing up, and contrasting that with the way a lot of kids experience their stuff growing up now. And you guys would remember that I had those two neighbors, the two kids that I used to hang around with a lot, and I'd actually even buy them Lego sets and shit because I used to be huge into Lego, so they'd get a lot of it. The contrast of how they grew up compared to how I grew up was insanely different. As in, I grew up with open fields, nature, literally climbing trees most of my childhood existence. They grew up on the patch of concrete between our units. And that is where they spent most of their time playing. Either that or inside. And one thing that I just find extremely sad is that more and more kids are so devoid of having those outdoor experiences. And I know I sound like an old fart here. And the reality is they just don't have the space for it. They don't have they live in an urban hell for most intents and purposes. A lot of them do. They just don't have the ability to go and just play outside with a bunch of other kids and experience those kind of things and go climb those trees and do all that outdoor shit and go to the creek and do whatever. They're basically forced to be inside. And this is why shit like this is going to be mega successful, because they have no choice. They can't just go out and play anymore.
I completely agree, but the thing is, Roblox already exists, and these platforms already exist. So if this gets kids away from those platforms that are horrible, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm super pumped with.
It's more positive, yeah, but I still think it's effed up as a general concept where we're heading with society and children.
Can I just say one thing about what you're saying as the only person who has kids?
Yeah.
I actually think today it's the best time for kids ever to go outside and do stuff. Like there's more parks.
But do what? Where?
Dude, there's more parks now.
Man. That's yeah, but it's also artificial and shit. It's like this little artificially made park in most estates.
Not every kid
number
lives
one.
in the country,
What the hell
dude.
is it?
Number one, you didn't let me finish, right?
I didn't either.
So like there's more parks, there's more activities, there's more sport, there's more like diversity in what you can do, and there's more reserves and things like that. Like where I live, like there's like reserves everywhere around the place, and they're more accommodating and thoughtful around kids playing there, if anything, than they were in the past. What you're talking about is a parenting problem, not a ability or, you know, where you can actually do something, right? Like it's purely on the parents. And, you know, I can understand it. I don't agree with it. I can understand it. It's hard being a parent. And sometimes it's just easier to go, here's a device, here's an iPad, here's a thing to play with. I just need like an hour to breathe and not kill you, right?
Which becomes a week, which becomes a year, which becomes...
Dude,
yeah.
Unless you're in people's situations.
I get it though. I get it. I know it's hard,
to
but
really truly
not,
empathize. But
I'm not complaining, or I'm totally empathizing, and I'm also empathizing with the kids that don't get to experience some of the shit we got to experience. Yeah. I'm not blaming that at all. I'm blaming the collective society that's created an environment where that shit happens, where parents are so exhausted from having to juggle all these things, where both of the people are having to work full time to support a family and have a mortgage and shit, that they have to resort to that because they just can't focus on actually doing that shit with their kid outside. And I just find that, I don't know, I'm very cynical when it comes to this stuff. It's hard for me to just go, oh yeah, cool idea, oh yeah, Lego, whatever, because I just kind of look at it from a high level perspective and I think, yeah, great, there's more kids just sitting in front of a screen. Fantastic, that sounds so good.
The reason, again, like this stuff is inevitable in the sense that not every kid, but unfortunately it's just changing times. Like the digital age has just got to the point where a lot of kids are wanting to be online to see their friends and stuff. As opposed to going around and having sleepovers. It's just the nature of things.
And
that's why I'm happy to not happy, but it's like, okay, again, if there's companies that are going to do this, at least I want them to be companies that are more trustworthy than a horrible company like Roblox.
Which actually started with really good intentions. If you go back, because I've actually read more about the history of Roblox. It's amazing. They started with like really amazing intentions about stuff like STEM and like how do you teach people engineering who are kids, right? And now what it's become. And I get it. Like money can corrupt people.
Well,
and organizations,
honestly, this
right?
is the same thing's going to happen to this.
Well, dude, but you're even saying yourself that like Lego has what is it now? Like, I was going to say 90 years. That seems too much, but like 50 years plus of runs on the board. Like, you got to trust something eventually, right?
I trust them more than others, but I don't trust the fact that in the end, they're not doing this for benevolent reasons. They're not doing this to get kids to become more creative or whatever. They're doing it for the bottom line. Let's be real.
I think you're being so cynical right now because...
Of course I am.
Of course they're doing it for the bottom line, but everyone does that differently. Some people sell cigarettes and kill people, right?
Yeah, I know. It's better. I agree. Yeah,
but
way
like,
better.
Other companies like Nintendo, like sure, they'll try to like make as much money as they can, but at the same time, they don't do lots of things that they could, right? And same as Lego. Lego could make a lot more money if they push the boundaries more, but they don't, right? So, yeah, look, like going back to this actual article, if this is going to be something like Roblox or Minecraft, and you've got like the guys behind Fortnite who understand how to run a platform like that, and then you have a brand like Lego, like, damn, like this could seriously, like we could look back at this in, 5 years time and go, wow, that was like actually a huge announcement that hasn't got that much airtime.
Yeah,
really.
This could be really big. You know what, though? The reality is all three of us might end up playing this thing. Because I think building virtual
You
Lego,
should be
as
banned.
much as I shit over this idea, I think would be kind of fun.
I
the
call on
problem
Tim
is,
Sweeney to ban you from this metaverse. You will
ban
be
me away. The difference is, I'd like to think by now, as an adult with responsibilities, I might be able to control myself on how much time I play, and I'm not gonna nag my mum to let me use the bloody iPad or the PC more to be able to play this thing. Whereas parents, oh my god, you guys are in trouble. You into God are in huge trouble, because this thing's gonna come out, and your kids are just gonna be nagging you nonstop to let you play it, let them play that.
Dude. Like you
don't give a shit that they spend way too much time in front of a screen.
What you're assuming they do? They don't. They don't. Get
Well, no,
to
but
watch
I'm saying
anything during the
it
week.
doesn't bother you
So
that I
you
just
gotta
said.
think about what you actually say before
Well, no,
you say
but
it.
what I said was that they'll be nagging you to keep playing this game. That doesn't bother you that they would do that or they would play this game.
But they won't. You're making presuppositions that aren't true even. In the
So it
first
doesn't
instance.
bother you that they'll nag you, but you'll be like, nah, I'm not letting you do that.
But I'm saying they're not even
Back
gonna
to the
nag
corner
me.
with you.
They know not to nag me because it doesn't work.
Is it?
I
'cause you
am
put them
so
there?
glad. This is
Right.
exactly why I put this topic in. This is
I knew
exactly
you did it for a
why I
reason.
put this topic
Triggering.
in.
Obviously, I'm like, why are we talking about this particular thing
No.
when there's so much other shit that I'm
Well-
seeing in the Min for the Swin?
Oh,
Min,
no, actually, I think
that thing.
I think this story is way more interesting than anything that's in the one Min for the Swin. Like,
Okay,
I actually
yeah,
think
I think it's
this is
interesting.
very, very impactful for the future of the industry, but
could be
also
huge.
it's something we haven't really
Could be
talked
huge.
about much. Like, we've glossed over Roblox whenever it's come up because we don't have much experience and exposure to
Plus,
it.
we don't like it.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we're a lot
even though
more
we never played
familiar
it.
with these two brands. So, but I was also hoping that if Mike would go on a tirade. So thank you,
Well, I
Mike.
would
Appreciate
because,
it.
and hey, I mean, I know if there's one thing, if there's two things in life I know well, it's playing a hell of a lot of video games uncontrollably and spending literally tens of thousands of dollars on Lego. So
You should be all for it then.
I should be all for it, but I'm not because
It's like his two addictions come to one.
exactly. It's like my two addictions decided to get married and freaking have a baby, and
So-
there you go. And now they're passing that addiction to all our children.
It's
So
like an
there you
addiction
go.
combo meal, you know.
It is, yeah.
You know when I said, oh, like I think they're like 90 years old. Oh no, that's too long. I checked it. It is 90 years
Yeah.
this year.
On the money.
Lego.
Did you guys hear they stole the?
But that's
where did they steal the
amazing, man.
duck
90
from?
years.
Wow. They nearly went out of business though. During was it the 90s or something? Until they revitalized it with the extra branding and the Star Wars, and now it's huge. And you know what?
even
Kudos
bigger.
to them. I still to this day think it is the best toy ever. If you could bucket it as a single toy, if that makes sense, because there's so many different things now. It is the single best toy invention ever
I
in
totally
the history
disagree.
of toys.
I call
do you think it is?
imagination.
Haha, good
I call it a pencil.
Lame.
I call it going outside
climbing trees and playing
and
with
having
the
imagination with your
butterflies.
friends. But yeah, like I want to get back to this a little bit outside of your rant, Mike. But
Yeah.
yeah, like but we haven't even addressed this. Like, what the friggin' hell is this? Like, is this going to be a game
Lego
or a
Worlds.
platform or?
It'll be a platform that has some kind of, I guess, inbuilt modes and things like a free build mode.
But we'll
private
have like you could
servers.
build like Minecraft, like but Lego.
I reckon
bricks.
you will. Yeah, I reckon
think
you'll
so.
be able to.
That's
kind
kinda
of
cool, man.
Cars and
I
shit.
wanna play that
Yeah.
shit.
That's what I said. I reckon we would actually play this
I'd
as
play
much
that
as I
for
should
sure.
on.
But
Yeah.
what it,
If I'm allowed to.
but it will expand out to okay, you can create your own stuff and content and things. So that's where the Roblox stuff comes in. So
Because surely there's this conversation that's been going on for 10 years now inside a Lego. Like, we are the real life Minecraft. Minecraft is literally just like Lego virtual. Why the
They've
fuck
got Lego.
have we not
well,
made
they
this?
do. They've got Lego Worlds, but
Yeah, but
I
it's
don't
never been
think it was
executed the
that
same way,
big,
right?
or it wasn't executed well. They had Lego races back in man, we were in high school and shit. I love that game because you'd get sort of just the wheelbases and stuff like that, and you can create your own Lego cars and race them.
Can I
It
just
was
say,
sick.
as much as you've ranted, you seem like the most excited person I've heard talk on this topic, and also the one who's shit on it the most.
Because
It's amazing.
Because it's such a love-hate relationship. It's like having a really crazy feisty girlfriend or something that just drives you nuts,
let's
but
settle
you
this
can't
down.
help but just love her to bits.
Let's put the reverse in. Burp, burp.
I'm sorry, but it's true.
I'm gonna do the focus on you. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to say on that, Swin?
No, let's wrap it up.
We wrapped that up nicely. All right. When we wrap up the news, we have a whole bunch of extra news that we want to flag. We want to keep it on the record as far as the podcast go, but we are not going to talk about it in any specificity. So Swinny will try to cover 191 words this week in 1 minute. He's going well so far. He's normally got about 5 seconds up his sleeve, but I feel like over the next few weeks it's going to get tighter and tighter. So
I mean, next few weeks I
should.
could fail today.
No, I don't know. They look very okay to read.
yeah, punchy today.
they
So
look
as
punchy.
always, whenever you are ready, Swinny.
Remedy have revealed remakes for the first two Max Payne games. Hypnospace Outlaw follow-up Dream Settler has been announced for consoles and PC. Crystal Dynamics have teased the next Tomb Raider game, which will be made in Unreal Engine 5. Ubisoft have announced free-to-play mobile version of Rainbow Six Siege. Square Enix's trademark Tactics Ogre Reborn. 2 Point Campus has been delayed to August 9. Rogue Legacy 2 launches April 28 for Xbox and PC. My Time at Sandrock launches in PC Early Access on May 26. Epic has released Unreal Engine 5 alongside 2 demo projects. A Fortnite fundraiser has raised $1.144 million USD for Ukraine humanitarian efforts. Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman has now acquired almost all of SNK. Official Halo and Witcher cookbooks have been revealed. Nintendo Switch Online will be adding N64 Mario Golf on April 15th. Metroid Dread's latest update has added various boss rush modes. THQ Nordic will present a digital showcase on August 12th. Returnal has taken home the top prize for this year's BAFTA Game Awards. And finally, 8-Bit Band's big cover of Kirby Track Metamorphosis Revenge has actually won the Grammy. All right, I
You got really
realized
stumbling in there.
Nice.
I got, you know why I stumbled
Why?
is because it said 2 Point Campus has been delayed and it had delayed to August the 9th. But what I did stupidly, I should have done this at the end. I said, I'm going to have to say another word. I'm going to have to add in a word to make the count back up to the 191 because I
true.
skipped it. So my stupid head in the middle of this added
PC
next
twice?
PC
Yeah.
again.
I noticed you said
say
that.
PC
It's on the run
twice?
sheet.
It's because I'm like, I need to add another word to make it officially 191.
Wow.
So the one word I say is PC.
Might I add, you wrote this. So,
Oh yeah, it's my
Good
fault.
job.
It's my fault. But I'm like, why would I do that? Why wouldn't I just say and Rogue Legacy 2?
That's really funny.
Trying to sabotage yourself.
It's crazy. When that news about, I said this really horribly. So the Kirby
Yeah, I didn't understand any of that.
I fumbled it. 8-Bit Big Band.
That
That's
is actually
horrible
a
to say.
tongue twister. 8-bit
8-Bit
Big Bang.
Big Band. So they won the Grammy for the cover of Meta Knight's Revenge, and I'm like, I swear I heard. Didn't Kirby's song already win a Grammy? No, it was actually we had in. What was it Minute Mike? I think it was at the time back in episode 62. We said it got nominated, so it's gone all the way from Minute Mike to 1 Min for the Swin for the update for them winning the Grammy.
Can I just
Oh
say,
god,
like,
that was horrible.
the longer, because one thing I do like, once you let the passage of time pass, you look back and reflect on things and go, okay, that's not as good as I thought it was, right? And the more time that passes, I actually think Metroid Dread, man, that's such a good game. Like, it's actually gone up in my opinion, like, more time has passed. But with the update, I'm still kind of a bit puzzled by this update. Like, maybe it's because it's kind of like something a bit simpler to do, or like that seems a bit offensive to say that, but the game didn't need to be harder. I'm not really looking for like the Dread mode and Dread Rush and Survival Rush and Boss Rush personally, but I don't know. It's a bit of a shame. Like, I would have loved if they'd done DLC for that game.
Oh, the alternative is nothing. So
I know. Just,
Really?
I don't know. Like, no one thinks it's weird that they've added this mode in the game where it's like, oh, you can't get hit.
I don't think it's very un-Nintendo, but the reason I don't think it's weird is because Metroid's always based around challenge runs. Like, people do those kind of challenge runs already, so they've just, I think
true.
it's actually good. And I think that's Mercury's team, obviously, doing that. I don't think Nintendo would have ever done that. So,
And it's crazy.
maybe.
In the latest update, Dread Rush, which is you have to complete Dread mode. And Dread mode is
Yeah.
you can't get hit. So you can't even unlock this Dread Rush mode until you've beaten Dread mode. And then you get to play all the bosses where you can't get hit.
Damn.
And you have to beat all the bosses, all 12. Like, how the freaking hell is that possible?
I think with Dread Rush, I was saying you play them one-on-one, but maybe not. Maybe.
So Dread mode, like, because I was actually thinking of trying it. So with the way, I didn't understand this about Dread mode. You can't get hit, but you go back to the checkpoint that you're
of
at.
course.
So I'm like, oh, okay. No, I don't know. I thought it was like you go back to the start of the game, right?
I think that would only be possible by those extreme people.
Yeah, yeah. But I believe with Dread Rush, you have to beat all the bosses. Yeah, I don't look. To be fair, I don't know if it's like if you beat them and then you can keep trying and then beat them. You know what I mean? Like one by one. But whatever.
Anyway, it's a new mode. If you've beaten Dread mode, no one listening now has beaten Dread mode. I'm pretty confident about that. I'm pretty confident about that. Prove me wrong. Comment in the video.
I'm sure
if
heaps
you
of
have.
people have beaten
Not
it.
me.
It's been out for a while. But
And I do disagree with you, Swinny, that it's better than nothing, by the way. You know, sometimes nothing is good.
Mike is an awesome form
Because-
today. I want sunglasses, Mike, to be
Because
back next week.
Existence is painful.
Exist.
So sometimes nothing is good.
Just like he also looks up like he's blind. He's like looks up existence is painful.
All right. I think Intergot needs a moment. Maybe he needs to calm down. We're about to get ready for our big special segment that we've been leading up to. We've been teasing the whole episode with unpopular takes. This whole episode leading up.
Yeah,
to this,
well, it's very on brand
That's
for
what we're
this
gonna
episode.
say.
And also, this episode's been so long. I thought it was going to be like a bang, like
Oh, damn, yeah.
a buck 15 or something. But this is.
I love it, though. It's been entertaining.
All right, let's jump into it, boys. Oh, all right, collect myself. Okay, so we are no strangers to unpopularity and unpopular opinions here at Bigwig in Gaming. So we thought, why not formalize it with our most controversial and unpopular gaming opinions in a special segment this week we call Unpopular Gaming Opinions. So Mike, you have been on strong form today in terms of your popular
Sure
and
have.
unpopular opinions. So have I to a degree. So why don't you open the batting and then we'll go around.
Okay, we'll go around.
Yeah, we'll
cool.
go around.
I don't want to do all three by myself. So, some of you may have
That's what she
noticed.
said.
bring it home. Come on.
Some of you may have noticed that the people that are watching the stream, not the people listening on the podcast, that I am wearing sunglasses. Now, part of it is because very strong lights, and it's starting to really bother my eyes in this dimly lit room every time I do the podcast. Partially also because my cat sleeps with his butt on my face, and I've got a bit of an eye infection now. But also partially because one of my unpopular... I'll give you guys a moment.
Go, keep going.
One of my unpopular gaming peeve thing is streaming celebrities. You know, douchebags like me being on stream, on Twitch, on whatever bloody...
Not like you. You're not a celebrity.
I know
Wait,
I'm not,
just
but I'm just saying.
clarify. This isn't pet peeves. It's unpopular opinion.
No, this is
Just
unpopular
confirm.
opinion.
Okay,
because a lot of people love that shit. A lot of people love sitting there, and I know, you guys love that sometimes too. I fucking hate it. Where they sit and they just watch people play games on Twitch or whatever other platform. Instead of playing it themselves, they sit there for hours and hours and hours being entertained by that. I think the entire concept is just stupid.
So what's your opinion?
My opinion is that
People who are watching us now.
people who are watching us are fucking idiots.
Well, so you're saying not? So you're saying any streamer at all? Any streamer at all is
No,
the whole concept of
Oh, I've got a
streaming.
headache.
I think it's got. I think that there's a time and place for it.
Okay.
I just think the fact that it's become so popular is ridiculous.
It's got two heading the water. It's just like, why are you two heading the water bottle? I've lost it. I'm just so visual.
He always two-hands.
Anyway. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Mike. I cut you off.
So I'm look.
Time and place. Time and
I
place.
think it's I come from the angle that people love that stuff. People love Twitch. It's huge. People love watching other people play games, even though I think it's fucking boring and mundane.
So what's the opinion again? Wait.
My
Are you
opinion
saying the
is that it's
streamers are dumb
stupid.
or the people who are watching
The whole
streamers?
concept, the whole bloody thing is dumb.
So streamers
about-
are dumb. People who watch streams are dumb. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not falling for that one. All I'm saying is the whole thing,
trying to
the whole
understand.
concept.
So are you including Let's Plays alongside streaming? Because
No, see, that's what I mean. I feel like there's certain parts. So, for example, when they do the charity runs, when they do the speed runs for a particular
No, I'm saying
event,
a
cool.
Let's Play where it's pre-recorded, it's not streamed, and they just play and comment and do provide commentary and everything. Are you bundling that in with general streaming?
no, not really. No, I don't bundle that.
Okay.
I'm thinking more,
So
more
that's
the kind
okay?
of
Let's
streaming
Plays are
where
okay?
you play, you know, I don't know, World of Warcraft for 8 hours a day, and people tune in to just watch you play World of Warcraft for 8 hours a day, instead of at least playing it themselves or something.
You know,
that
the
kind of stuff.
And no, I think that is a really good unpopular opinion. I will say, because you know I do like to watch Let's Plays and stuff. Most of them are pre-recorded, but I think the thing is that often you're wanting to get people's different viewpoints, but also just the personality of the people playing. That's honestly the reason why most people watch that stuff. Is you're not watching because you want to watch someone play a game, if that makes sense. All the time. Some people might just want to watch purely.
But is it really? I mean, I tried. It's not that I haven't tried. I've tried. I opened up Twitch. I went to a bunch of streams. I went to a bunch of popular
Hot
streams.
tub.
Even that kind
Category.
of that is the absolute worst.
ASMR.
It
Okay, all right,
blows
that's
my
a-
mind that people watch that shit.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole separate.
But
thing.
anyway,
So-
the point is, it's not like I haven't tried. I've tried, and every time
Yeah.
I try and open it up, I'm like, what the fuck am I wasting my time on?
See, I don't watch Twitch, but I watch Let's Plays. That's why I'm kind of interested to know if that was a different thing in your eyes. Because, for instance, like I've been saying, I've been watching a guy play through the Dark Souls games and watching his journey. And the thing is, a lot of it is the same as like watching reaction videos. Like Itchgod and I watch a lot of music reaction, especially Numa, Danny
I literally was watching that today.
Danny Carey's
literally watching
drum
it.
cam. Yeah, and I watch other people react to it simply because I like you vicariously enjoying new things through people that you've already experienced. And
Okay.
it's completely ridiculous, but it's a weird psychological thing that is just inanely interesting to me sometimes. So anyway, but no, look, that's a really good first unpopular opinion. I'm interested to know what your others are.
Oh, that's a heavy hitter from the start.
But wait, there's more.
I like just on my piece of the streaming thing. I think it's all about I think for me it's two things. It's like the personalities. Like someone's just funny, naturally funny, and having them on in the background, it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. And then the other part of it is, you know, with speedrunners, like it's just interesting. Like they're live doing what they do, and just watching. I watch sometimes like some Super Metroid speedrunners, and it's just crazy the amount of skill that they have. So it's
Oh, I
to
respect
me,
it. I respect the thing behind it. Just
Yeah.
the part where people waste 8 hours a day watching it. I don't get.
But I think you would have then the same opinion of sports. Like, why are people watching?
I
people
do have
play
the same
sports?
opinion of sports.
Which is
Just
also
go-
another extremely unpopular opinion.
Go play it yourself, Jesus Christ. That's the part I don't get. Like, is it that hard to go to a soccer field and hit a ball? Come on.
Yeah, yeah, like let's watch some Olympic diving. You know. Oh no, just go do it yourself. You know?
Why you don't? Okay, that's taking it to the extreme. But I think
It's a sport. Why? It's a sport.
it's a sport.
MMA.
No,
Just
but what
get
I'm
in there
saying
and
is,
box each other's heads open.
it's not that hard to pick up a footy and go outside and go hit a footy with your kid or your friend or your dog or whatever.
Hit a footy, you mean kick a footy.
Okay,
Kick it,
let's
whatever. Hit it.
All
right.
Pass it. I don't
Let's
know
move
how
on
football's
next
played. I
one.
don't watch it, but
We
that's my
we
point.
we need to do it in a different order or something, because I feel like Mike's just gonna blow us apart, Swinny. But
Okay. Do you want me to
going
do you
to
wanna go?
like no? I'll go to mine and then
That's
I'll go
it.
to
Alright,
yours, right?
Into God's list.
So like yeah, like so expectations, you got to lower them compared to Mike's. They're not going to be as controversial. So I'll just lead with the opinion, which is games are way too long. There's way too much filler in games, and gamers are wrong when they keep talking about, oh, this game is only 10 hours and I paid $60 for it. I didn't get enough value from the game. I hate that opinion, and I think it's completely batshit crazy. And I'll go to the next step where I'm like, Elden Ring is too long. Zelda Breath of the Wild is too long. And like I loved Mario Odyssey. I loved it to death. I did everything in that game. And I know Swinny criticized it for this, but I actually agree. It's too long. Like these games, all of these games are too long. There's too many extra caves, dungeons, levels where it's just, you know, a mishmash of things that have come before it. And it just shits me. And it really pisses me off when, you know, Miles Morales came out and everyone's like, oh, this is bullshit. This is like half a game because it's not long enough. Like to me, I played Spider-Man Remastered just now. I'm like, this game is ridiculously long for the type of game it is. So that is my opinion. Games are too long and gamers are wrong about the value question. Swinny?
What do you think, Swinny?
As in my one, or do you want?
No,
me
no.
to
What do
go?
you think
What-
of
what do
what
you
he
think,
just
yeah.
said?
I agree. 90% of that. There are certain genres where RPGs and JRPGs, for instance, where I think a longer game is actually beneficial to build the characters, and sometimes it's just the moment-to-moment dialogue between characters, but that stuff all adds up. That's why a lot of JRPGs are so long, is because there's just like the dialogue, and you can skip it all, but if you skip them all, then the games end up being super short anyway. But no, I agree. Like Elden Ring is too long, in my opinion. I can't speak for Spider-Man, but there's games where, like the Order 1866, to me that was super criticized for being too short, and it didn't have much content after you beat the game, but that was like a great, almost like, it's not movie length, it's longer than the movie, but it's like a movie length game, if that makes sense, where it's like, hey, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to play through this in a few days or a weekend, and it's just a one and done, you know.
Yeah, and
point,
like
yeah.
ultimately, I just feel like the editor has no power anymore in movies, films, books, everything. Like, look at all formats; they're all way longer. Like all the Harry Potter books went from 300 pages to like 600-700 pages, and then they had to start splitting the books in half. Movies are way too long these days, and I do wonder if any element of that has got to do with just the, Asia in terms of power and, purchasing power and consumer power has just exploded in the last 10 years. So that's India, China in particular, but all of that region. And traditionally, those areas, the media has always been really long. Like Bollywood movies are like 4 hours long on average,
Jeez.
right? So,
Wow.
and Chinese movies is like not as long, but like always 3 hours plus, right? So, and I do wonder if that's had an influence on movies where they're sort of a bit like, well, the longer it is, the better. And same as games. It's like
That's what she said.
they mix it up, or they mix these sort of like, quests, fetch quests and things like that. It's like, oh, there's no penalty to do this. We've added 10 hours to the game. And, your favorite series of all time, Assassin's Creed, is now probably the most infamous example of that, right? Like in terms of filler and length. So, all right, so when you go to your opinion.
Well, hang on. I had an opinion on this opinion.
Okay, go on.
I think the reason why so many gamers think they're not getting their money's worth is because they haven't gone to a massage parlor that gives happy endings, where you pay $60 for like 10, 15 minutes maybe of enjoyment,
You're
and then
very
you walk
familiar
out and then you
with
go,
this.
man, that goes my weekly pay. When you have that experience, then you will start appreciating games for what they are. It's not about the length of it, it's about the quality of the experience.
Thank you for that input, Mike.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We could call the episode Parlor. Par-law. Yeah, go on, Swinny.
Okay, so I am almost the king of unpopular opinions on this podcast
Yes.
when it comes to games. So a couple of quick fire ones.
Wait, you got more than three?
No,
Yeah,
these
how
are the
does that
quick fire obvious ones, right? That I've
Oh, okay. That
Okay.
you're not saying.
yeah,
Okay.
no, like
Oh man,
Odyssey.
I had a bunch of those.
Odyssey's the best.
Odyssey's the best Assassin's Creed game. Breath of the,
Get
off the
stage.
this is a quick fire. Don't keep talking over me. Breath of the Wild is a great game, but a horrible Zelda game. Final Fantasy 13 is a fantastic game. Cyberpunk 2077 doesn't deserve the hate. I like Mario 2 more than Mario 3, and Mass Effect 1 is the best in the series. There we go. There's some quick fire
Okay,
unpopular
fair enough.
opinions just to get them out. Clear
I
the
agree
air.
with a bunch of
Clear
them.
the
So.
air. Clear the air.
Even can I just say, even for your standards, when you said the Mario 2 is better than Mario 3 thing, and then you walked it back a bit, that's even
Yeah.
you knew how extreme that was of
Yeah.
what you said.
Yeah. Okay, so my actual unpopular opinion.
Okay.
I think the heralded game BioShock is overrated.
Ooh.
Interesting. Okay.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I like the game. I think it's a solid game that's got a really cool premise.
Which
and a
one? The
world.
Solid
series or the original? Or
Shit.
I'm talking BioShock 1. Just
What is he
okay, the
talking
original
about?
BioShock. Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Yep.
So, like, I think it's a solid game, but with a really cool premise and world, right?
Yep.
When people were talking about this game, they're talking about it being like this crazy, wildly innovative game, the best game of all time and everything. And then I played it, I'm like,
When did
It's
you play
alright.
it? When did you play it?
I played
probably
it probably
launch.
about 6 months after launch or
Oh,
something.
okay.
Oh yeah, that's
So-
still well within.
Anyway,
the-
so to me,
hype
it's
period.
like a really pretty atmospheric FPS with some fancy magic abilities, with a great world. But it's like, other than that, I'm like, that's all right. Like, and I played through this game a few times. I even played it through to get the brass balls achievement, where you can't use the Vita chambers to respawn on the hard difficulty and all
damn.
this stuff. Like, so I feel I gave this game a really good shot. But to me, like, the game, the fact that it's an FPS but with a bit of exploration and everything like that, like, to me, a game that does that better and is the game that and it did get credit, but is the game that should have got the credit BioShock did, is The Darkness. To me, that is a game that takes a spin on an FPS and is, to me, is way better. I think that's got a better storyline.
The Darkness.
The
Yeah,
Darkness.
the darkness.
And they probably didn't come out too far away from each other. Darkness, I imagine, came out after. But anyway, so that's my first unpopular opinion, is that BioShock is overrated. It's a good game, but not the legendary game that people make it out to be.
Whoa, that's a big. I'm gonna get swamped in this this segment, man, by one crazy person and then one person who's got these deep cuts and the contrarian.
Would you kindly
Are you
admit
gonna
you're
say
wrong?
something?
It's a good game. Nah, go on. I don't agree. That is actually a good one, because I think a lot of people think it's a great game. I thought it was a great
A
game.
lot of people say it's the best game of all
But-
time. Like, that's not a.
And it's even got that. Somewhere I've got the LP of the second one. Anyway.
How do I say this, Swinny? But I kind of almost. I don't agree. Well, I almost like kind of agree with what you're saying, but I disagree as well, in the sense that I think this game can be considered a 10 out of 10, and then weirdly enough can also be overrated. And I'll say it like this, that I think some people do go way too over the top with this game, saying, oh, it's like innovated these concepts and all this kind of stuff. And I don't really think it did. For me, it was just like very flawlessly executed, the game. Like, playing through it all, I'm like, wow, that was a cool ride. And even I, at the end of it, was like, I don't get why people are saying this is the best game of all time, you know? Like, beating the game. But, you know, like I said, having said that, I do think it was insanely highly executed. So I'm almost like agreeing with you to a degree, that it's overrated in the elements that people talk about it in. But I don't think it's overrated in being like a 10 out of 10. Like, I could see that. I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10, but I could see why people do. Interesting. Mike, what's your second? This is
Okay,
like we're fucking blowing ourselves up here. I love it.
Yep. I can't
Go,
wait
Mike.
for the fan
Go, Mike.
mail. So this
People
is
literally jumped off the stream. I could see it dropping off. But yeah, go, Mike.
I wasn't sure, was it? So this is less. This is probably less controversial, but I think I would say the majority of games have shit stories.
Oh, dude, this is almost stealing my one.
Well, I think of that. It's
Wait,
definitely
you
an
always
opinion
like
I've had.
you always like
I didn't steal
disagree
it,
with
though.
my opinion.
No, I don't. I always thought I knew you had this opinion as well, so I'm hoping you don't have it as part of your three.
I don't,
But no,
I don't.
I agreed with this opinion. I really do think that there's so many games that it's not that I still follow the story, or at least I try to follow the story. It's just that it's so mundane and bullshit and inane in so many instances that I'm like, where the fuck do they get the writers from on some of these games? They could have so many more cool concepts and ideas, and this is why, you know, I play a game like Disco Elysium, and it just stands out because of the fact that it's so different in the way it tells the story and the elements of the story and how mature the story is.
Mike,
And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sex just wasn't an award-winning screenplay. I'm sorry.
Well, whatever the dude's name was, well, I don't know who wrote it.
Yeah, let's not dox them again. But yeah, okay.
There were two dudes, anyway.
Come on.
So that's it. I don't know what you guys think. Do games have okay stories, or
But
are they generally
can I
pretty
challenge
shit?
you on one thing though? I don't think anyone is saying that they do have great stories. Am I wrong with that?
No, I think most people think they're okay.
I
Okay.
To me, it depends on the games. Like, because you've got a lot, like 75% of the games out there aren't even meant to have a good story. You know, so
Yeah.
if you even solo them away and just look at, okay, the 25% that are trying to have a good story, even those, like 80% of them are probably going to be mundane crap, right? Because video games just haven't progressed to the point where they're at the level of some of the higher quality TV shows and movies and stuff like that. But the thing that I have issue with that is that there are a lot of game stories that I do like. Now,
Likewise, yeah.
I'm treating the story separate from like the dialogue and voice acting because like game dialogue has generally been pretty crap
Okay, fair
and always
point.
has
Yep,
been.
yep.
Whereas the overarching story and plot can actually be interesting. So it's kind of like it's a bit of a balance.
No, you're right. It's a tough one. I mean, you're right, and it depends how you split it up. I just think holistically, there's a lot of games that have really cool concepts, or might have really good bits of conversation or dialogue in it, or the overarching story might be okay, but then the details are just absolutely shit. Um, and that's not for all stories. I think there's some really amazingly written stories and amazing games that I think are better than films and books that I've read. So, but I just think as holistically, not enough effort is put into, and especially games I feel that are very story driven, like some RPGs.
Or like Final Fantasy.
Or Final Fantasy is probably a good
And see,
example.
Final
I'm
Fantasy
like,
is a
oh
good
my
example of what
God.
I was saying, that I think the overarching story and plot of a game of Final Fantasy 7 is pretty decent, whereas the dialogue and is pretty poor. So it's like that's an example there. So
Look, I agree with your opinion, Mike. But I think it's because the history and the psychology of games and where they've come from as a medium. It's never started from a narrative perspective. It started from gameplay. And I think that will always be seeded in what video games are. And I think it takes a lot to break out of that. And I think also there's just so much more you can do to get away with things instead of have story. So it's a crutch, a lot of things. Like, you know, the fun of multiplayer, playing with friends, gameplay, design elements, visuals, sound. You know, you could do so much more with a video game that it just becomes the sort of backseat thing. You hear like with id, you know, like John Carmack's like, fucking story. Who gives a fuck about the story? Just get into the game, right? Like he hated when id were talking about like having really crazy stories in their games. Like, I don't know. I think that psychology ultimately permeates through all games.
Yeah, that
But
makes sense. Yeah.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. I don't think that's super controversial. So my second one is that out of all the major mediums, that gamers are the worst fucking gatekeepers out of all of them. Not the music, musos, records. You know, into this 70s band, blah, blah, blah. Movies. You know, you don't like this, you know, Scorsese film from the 70s, blah, blah, blah. Gamers are the worst fucking gatekeepers. Gamers are so fucking obnoxious that you beat a game and then people go, "Oh, you use spirit summons in Elden Ring? Oh, okay, you do ease mode. Oh, okay, cool." Like, fuck you. Like, I hate this shit. And I don't know why it's in the culture of gaming, but it's like so deeply entrenched that like people will talk about it in reviews. They'll talk about it in podcasts. Just like, it's like a popular, normal opinion to be going, "Oh, people play it on easy mode," and I have to excuse that. It's like, I don't give a fuck if you play it on easy mode. Who cares? That's your experience with a game. Why are people treating it like, "Oh, it doesn't count because you didn't play the game on the normal or difficult or like hardest difficulty"? So that is my opinion, that gamers are the worst gatekeepers.
so
point.
far, I don't think either of your two so far are actually. I don't consider
guess
them
they're not that-
unpopular.
But no, I
Unpopular,
think
maybe. Well, I don't
no,
know.
I think they're unpopular. You don't think they're unpopular?
Because the thing is, when you're specifically saying gatekeeping, you're not saying like toxic or anything. Because if I think about it, like 100%, like the difficulty thing is such a good example of that. Because you don't have, someone played this metal song, but they didn't play it exactly like it's played on the record. You know, there's tiny bit of that, but there's not
Yeah,
like gaming.
it's not pervasive.
No.
But I think it is
that's
unpopular what I'm saying because everyone does it and it's like super accepted. Like super accepted in terms of people commenting about games, you know, like discussing it on podcasts, news sites, everything. I don't know. I think
But then I do see a lot of articles that also end with, and that's okay. As in, oh, you may not be good at blah, 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 but that's okay. Oh, you may have used spirit summons and feel like you were cheating, but that's okay. Like, they're encouraging you and patting you on the back that it's fine. It's okay. I mean, have you not seen those articles? I'll link you to those articles after this.
But this is
which
my
is kind of
point.
the opposite, but...
But no, but this is kind of my point though. It shouldn't even be something of note. This is my
No, it
whole
should
point,
be.
right?
You play the game however the fuck
Exactly.
you want to play the game. Yeah.
All right. Swinny, what's your second?
My second
This is
one,
a fun segment, by the way.
Yeah, this one's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, go on.
And there's a bit of a caveat to it. Anyway, I think GTA 2 is the best GTA game.
Okay, that is controversial. That is... Let me
I knew the
put my
contrarian would
sleeves up.
shine.
Of course you would. The worst GTA there ever was.
Can I say I'm all fucking for this opinion? I'm behind Swinny.
This is a unpopular opinion.
I legitimately like GTA 2 the most out of all the GTA games
Wow.
that I've played. Now, I will say that I haven't beaten all of GTA 5,
Yeah.
but I have played through GTA 1, GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, GTA 4, you know, play through a lot of GTA Chinatown Wars, and, you know, I feel like I've played the majority of the games. And the one that still was the most fun to me was GTA 2, and I think that is vastly underrated. And it was before, I think that was like, I don't think they'd become Rockstar yet at that point. I think it was still DMA Design.
Yep.
And the game gets so overlooked. And to me, I think it's the best one because it's kind of after that, they started to get all narrative heavy. And while some of the stories and side quests in those games are good, later games are good, I like them. Something just about GTA 2 was just really, really fun. But this has a second part.
Oh.
Well, are you going to move off this GTA point?
No.
Because I agree with you, man. But yeah, go on.
My second part is, and Sleeping Dogs is the best GTA style game ever. That beats all the GTA.
But that's not
Sleeping
unpopular,
Dogs.
but
That is
hang
not
on.
that unpopular. So it's just like the second
Dude, of
part.
course
Of it.
it's
It's a bloody
unpopular
awesome
opinion.
game.
That's
Yeah.
an
Sleeping
unpopular
Dogs is
opinion.
great. It has Opeth on the soundtrack. Come on.
But
That's
that is
an
an
amazing
unpopular
game.
opinion. That's definitely an unpopular
The
opinion.
first one is super unpopular. I think there's probably like a dozen of you that think like that.
So what you're saying the first sleep? What are we saying here?
No, he's
No,
saying
I'm saying that
first part of
GTA
my
2 was my least favorite one. Absolutely.
Oh,
I just didn't. It didn't click with me as much as the original. The original, I loved it. I was even modding it back in the day.
I like the original as
Number
well.
two's like
I got nothing to say about
Dark and shit.
Sleeping Dogs.
it's an amazing game.
Just on like open world games, like GTA, for whatever reason, like, you know, 3 and beyond, like I tried to play GTA 4. I've spoken to you about this a lot of times, Mike. I just cannot get into that game. I find it like painful, like boring and painful, and I hate the writing in that game with a passion.
And number 4, yeah.
And like same as 5.
But you played
I've watched
5,
a lot,
yeah?
No,
Oh,
I've
even
watched a lot
5.
of. I haven't played 5,
Damn.
but I think I have actually. But I've mostly watched a lot of stuff on it, and I just find the writing so painful in that series. It doesn't click with me at all. It's like similar to the Marvel thing. Like I get that people love Marvel. Obviously, look how well it performs, right?
This is a bonus unpopular opinion from me to God here.
But it's just like, to me, the shittiest, most like moronic writing, and it's like, okay.
People are gonna love us after the second.
But I agree. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about GTA, and they go, GTA 1 and 2, that doesn't even count. Like the series started with GTA 3. I'm like, fuck off,
What?
man. I actually
Totally
like
counts.
GTA 2 more than
Yeah.
all these other games. I've played it more, and I felt like playing it
Number
more.
1 was my fav.
And then, you know, I don't know if you guys have played this game, but Retro City Rampage.
Yeah.
When I started playing that, I'm like, fuck, I'm having way more fun than I do in GTA 4 and 5
Well,
and 3 as well. It's
whatever,
like,
man.
shit.
Certain
So,
things click for
I
certain
like this.
people.
This is a good segment. This is juicy.
All right, into God.
All right. No, it's Mike's last one, isn't it?
Oh,
I think it's my last one. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I've already
you're
done
right,
two.
sorry.
Yeah,
We've all
you're
done
right,
two. We've all
Okay.
done two. Wait, who
So-
thinks they have the juiciest one for their third? Does anyone?
Well, it sounds like that one was my juiciest based on
That
your
was pretty
response.
good.
That was
But
probably legit juicy. Yeah,
I kind of
like
have
that
a
one.
juicy one.
Okay.
So.
Well, you
Okay.
go last then. Yeah, go, Mike.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if this is juicy enough, and I don't know how to phrase this, to be honest. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't like the fact that studios rely on cash cows for their games.
Oh, but that's not unpopular. Everyone.
I don't like Mario. Is that,
Oh, you mean cash? You mean
I
cash
hate
cow?
Mario.
Cash cow IPs. Cash cow
I feel
IPs.
like,
Cash
I feel like
yeah.
he changed it halfway through and said, "I don't
Well, no,
like
but
Mario."
because I'm trying to use an example. I'm trying to use an
I
example
fucking
that
hate Zelda.
Well, exactly. I'm trying to use an example that solidifies this. I hate Zelda. Well, not Zelda. I hate Link. / Zelda, whatever, the whole bloody thing. And I hate Mario. I hate the fact that all those games are set in the same bloody universe with the same shit over and over again. If they could take that game and just create new characters with
So it
a
wouldn't be a
new
Zelda
kind
game
of
then,
world thing, I would enjoy them more. So take Mario, for example. They ran out of ideas of what the hell Mario can possibly do because he only jumps on people's heads, basically.
I totally disagree with that.
That's the main thing.
You're
Anyway, I'm just
ignorant.
saying.
Have you
whatever,
played
I
Mario
them.
Odyssey?
Well, that's what I'm trying to
Galaxy.
say. Then they went, oh, let's give him a hat. And then he uses his hat to do shit. Because what else are we going to do? So what I'm saying is, if they had a different
This
character...
is a real unpopular one.
If they had a different character that wasn't Mario, it was some random, like, Fario or whatever, not even anything related to it, and exactly the same concept,
Wario.
same elements. No, not even that. Nothing in the whole Mario franchise.
Swinny hit the microphone with his head. He got knocked out by that point.
I don't like franchises is probably what it comes down to. I think they're milked too much.
I don't like franchises. What's your opinion?
My opinion is that they're milking franchises too much, and I think games would be better if they didn't rely so much on franchises.
Okay, well I can get on board with that being an unpopular opinion because people love franchises. Look
I
at
know
Call
they
of
love
Duty.
franchises.
What are we up to? Call of Duty 29 or something now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Swinny, you're on
You
mute.
knocked the microphone so hard it broke.
knocked you on mute.
To me, like an example of that is I'm waiting for a new F-Zero for so long.
Yeah,
And
you've even created your own F-Zero's pitch.
In the you've got games that are F-Zero like that have come out that are decent.
Wipeout.
But I'm not talking Wipeout, like Redout and things, games that
okay,
are
yeah.
closer to F-Zero. But I'm not as interested in them because I want F-Zero. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
I
a
get
lot of it is that kind of IP, as you said. So it's an interesting one.
Familiarity or something.
Yeah.
No, it's not to say that I don't like familiarity in games. I'm looking forward to the next Witcher, for example, and the affinity to the characters and stuff like that. But there is a big part of me that I think might enjoy the next game more if it didn't have Geralt in it. If it had different characters in it. It was sort of heck, if it wasn't even set in the same world, if it had kind of a different same theme with dragons and monsters and shit, but nothing to do with witches and whatnot, I think I would probably enjoy it even more than I would another Witcher game in that sense.
I feel like you're losing the grip on what the point was.
Well, the point is just franchises, rehashing and reusing the same characters, the same concepts, the same things and elements and ideas just to sell a game because they know it sells.
But I feel like you are for that. Maybe it's just you don't like Mario and Zelda.
No,
Because
I'm not. No, I'm saying I'm not for that because even a Witcher, I prefer to not have a Witcher 4. I
But then
prefer
think
to have
about,
something
like,
different.
Forza Horizon 5. That's like exactly like 3 and 4.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't rate it well. Remember when I reviewed it, I'm like, it's the same fucking game as 4.
But you played the
I
hell out
wasn't-
of it, didn't you?
Because it's like playing number 4 but with different cars in a different place. But I didn't rate it as highly as other people did. I'm like, I don't really. And it's funny because the racing game is a bit different. But anyway,
Mike, I know you were away the episode that we talked about the fact that Witcher 4 is coming, and
Yes,
we talked about this. So
aware of that.
maybe you can go and watch that because we talk about whether or not it will include who the main protagonist
new
is.
house.
it might not be. I did
new
hear that,
house.
which is good news for me. Not that I'm over Geralt, but maybe I kind of am, to be
Give it
honest.
5 years. Give it 5 years. When it
someone
comes out.
new.
All right. My unpopular opinion is Game Pass is an overall negative for the industry.
Ooh.
I think Game Pass is
okay.
bad. I think
Walk
Game
us
Pass
through
is
that.
bad for the
I
industry.
think Game Pass is bad. It's too high. The
trying to-
rent is too damn high.
I'm trying to channel my inner Fox News. Yeah, I think it's bad. I think that's similar to what has happened with Netflix. I feel like that can give you insights into what's going to happen with Game Pass and gaming. That
what
Netflix
happened?
started hot, and then over time, it's like we need to pump so much content out that if you check the Netflix originals, the amount of shit that they pump out to get enough content for people to consume their murder mysteries and all this kind of
There's a
crap,
lot.
it's gone to shit in Netflix, right? And I'm already starting to see the dynamic with Game Pass where there's some crackers on there. Like, and I even said it earlier, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, I'll play that. That's on Game Pass. But again, that's a game that didn't sell that well in the grand scheme of things and how much it should have sold, like according to Square Enix. And I just think the dynamic of it and it's more about a content game. Like, I actually thought the opposite initially. It's like, okay, you don't have to worry about selling the game. It means that high quality games can surface up. But I almost feel like it's the opposite. It's like, we just need to get a lot of games in there. And it's going to encourage people to sort of create these 7 or 8 out of 10 games. And there's absolutely no incentive to have an Elden Ring go on a Game Pass. So, and I'll be fascinated to see how Microsoft goes. They've got like
Starfield.
40 studios or something like that. Yeah, but dude, like the amount of studios they've bought compared to like, if I look at the output from PlayStation first party studios, I don't know, man. Like, I'll take that any day over what's happened with Microsoft so far. So
Okay. It is unpopular.
that's my
All
opinion.
that
Overall,
stuff
it's negative.
all that stuff from the exhibitions hasn't come to fruition yet, though. So I don't think we can judge that until that point. But like, it very much could end up the same way. But I just think we've got to keep in mind that think back to when they purchased Double Fine and like Ninja Theory and all that stuff. Like, that stuff's just starting to trickle out now. So.
But that's not stuff that came like not organically is the wrong word, but wasn't produced from the start under the auspices of it's going on Game Pass, right? Like, so what I'm saying, I feel like won't be tested until like 5 years from now.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. But I just think, like, the more I see it, more I think about it, I'm like, this is going to be bad for the industry. And, like, I actually hope in some ways it dies, but it won't. Like, there's no way it will. So,
Well, all I know is, other than the games I talked about that I purchased earlier, I bought barely any games in the
thanks to
last
Game Pass.
12 months, other than like my Chemco RPGs and Elden Ring, because there's just so much shit on Game
Well,
Pass. So from me, from a financial standpoint, it's been great.
totally agree.
Yeah, but
And-
maybe Swinny,
and
stop
I
being
agree,
so
Swinny. There's
selfish.
so much shit
Stop
on
being so
Game Pass.
selfish, Swinny. You
And-
should stop
And
ruining the industry.
And I'm perfectly fine with games that are 6, 7s, and 8s. So, because to me, they end up being a lot of the games I love. So,
Hey, dude, I'm like a 5, and my girlfriend's perfectly fine with me. So
all right.
Okay.
All right. Take us home, Swinny.
that was a good one. That was a good one.
Take us
All
home.
right. I've got to explain this one, right? I will start with
It's always
the
a good
clickbait.
start.
I will start with the clickbait wording of it, though. In many ways, Final Fantasy VIII is a better game than Final Fantasy VII.
in many ways,
In many ways.
In many ways.
In many ways.
In many ways. That's ridiculous.
That is the.
I guess
that
there's
is the
more
click.
That
polygons.
is a
That-
massive this is the most clickbait you've ever
That's
been.
very.
That is a clickbait. Now the
No, I
actual.
reckon GTA is more clickbaity than this, but yeah.
No.
Now the actual explanation. Final Fantasy VIII, to me, has a better story, world, and characters than Final Fantasy VII. It's graphically better, but that's a given. Like, I'm not even comparing that because it's unfair, that one. But from a gameplay and systems-wise standpoint, Final Fantasy VII is a much better game. So, but the thing is, to me, like a big part of why I love the Final Fantasy games is the overarching world they build, the characters that are in your party, and the plot and the twists and everything. And upon replaying Final Fantasy VIII a few times over the last couple of years, I have come to realize that, I used to hate that game when I first played it on the PlayStation. And I've also replayed Final Fantasy VII quite a few times, and it's like the scales of like balance themselves, where I almost consider the two
interesting.
games on an equal footing in terms of how I feel about them overall. But with Final Fantasy VIII, to me, like all the characters feel like they have a role in the story. They all they have a purpose. Whereas with Final Fantasy VII, there's some characters like, okay, they're super important, but there's other party members you're like, they just feel out of place. And literally, you can not have them there, and it doesn't change the story, you know? And I know that's a common thing with RPGs. Chrono Cross is an example where that's horrible. But to me, Final Fantasy VIII is the opposite. And I love the world they build with the Balam Garden and the different gardens where they've got, and all the political games. If anyone doesn't know, Garden is like the name of like the big mercenary schools that they have. And I just love the world more than Final Fantasy VII's. And the thing is, Final Fantasy VIII, as I said, systems-wise is a broken game, but it's almost at a point where it's so broken that it's almost fun to exploit the junction and card mod systems where it's like, okay, how overpowered can I get it? And it's almost a fun challenge in that sense. But when it comes to just overall, like I just have much more of a connection to the world of Final Fantasy VIII, which is, I feel, especially compared to 7, a very unpopular opinion because Final Fantasy VIII is like the black sheep of that part of the franchise. The only thing is the villain, Final Fantasy VII, Sephiroth, is way better than the eventual villain of Final Fantasy VIII. But other than that, I don't know yet. Like, I'm not going to be doing a Final Fantasy overall tier list. I wouldn't know where I'd rank the two close to each other, you know? I wouldn't know, but a lot of people, and the thumbnail for this segment will be very clickbaity, but I do feel that Final Fantasy VIII in many ways is a better game than Final Fantasy VII.
It's kind of interesting because when Final Fantasy VIII came out, it was very well regarded and scored similarly to Final Fantasy VII. But as the years have passed, there's been a massive divide over time where people are just like, oh, Final Fantasy VII is clearly the best game of that era, you know, out of Final Fantasy VI.
I think it was more
8 and 9.
groundbreaking, right? Because there was a leap from 6 to 7.
Yeah,
it felt like quite a bit of a leap, and there was definitely a leap between 7 to 8, but not as great. And I think that's why it's more memorable in people's heads. What do you think of Final Fantasy 13 though? Best game ever?
I think Final Fantasy. Hey, did you not hear my quick speed?
I
through?
did.
I said,
That's why I'm like, what the?
I said it's a fantastic.
hell is wrong
game.
with you tonight?
It is a fantastic game. It is horrible first 10 hours, but it's a fantastic game
That's
after
fair
that.
enough. Like I just you know I'm still salty that I spent $140 on that game, and
You should have
probably
played
it
more.
for 2 hours, and I went, fuck this.
You should have played more of it.
I know, but it was hard. It was just corridor after corridor after corridor.
Is that the game
shit.
where it's just like 15 hours of going in the same direction, like on a bridge or
Yes.
something?
Yes,
so
basically.
it's linear, and then it opens a bit. But the thing is, it's not the
After
thing.
15 hours.
Anyway, I will talk about Final Fantasy 13 and what I love
Wait,
about that
go-
game.
No, actually, I shouldn't say that.
When I will talk about Final Fantasy 13, what I love about the game when I eventually do my Final Fantasy battle system tier list.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I think you've won the competition of who's got the most controversial, unpopular opinion, Swinny, with the
He has,
GTA
yeah.
2 thing.
I actually ordered
yeah.
these
That's the
thinking
winner.
Final Fantasy 8 would be more, but
Nah.
No,
GTA
I
2
feel like
GTA
this
2.
is more. Yeah.
People don't even consider GTA 1 and 2 a part of that
Oh,
series.
go fuck
That's
yourself.
weird. Yeah.
But Final Fantasy 7, 8, they all count. You know, like that. I hear a lot of people, like I think Final Fantasy 6 shits all over Final Fantasy 7. So we've got Final
but
Fantasy 7
totally
surrounded.
Yeah. Hey, I think it's still Final Fantasy 7 was still my favorite, but I don't have the experience that Swinny does. So he's played them all to bits. So I take his word more than mine.
We need to write these down because I've forgotten what Mike's are. I'll add mine in. I don't remember what yours were, Mike.
can send them.
But yeah, no, that was a really funny segment.
It was.
All right, wrapping us up for this week. What's on for next week, Swinny? It's anything interesting coming out of THQ Nordics Digital Showcase?
Percentage probability, probably about 15% will cover anything. But if they happen to drop a new Eurojank RPG, I'll be sure
Oh,
to talk
you're
about
all
it.
over that like a fly on a lollipop that was left outside in the
Sound
grass.
like you were googling the end of your line.
He's frantically googling
Fly on a-
punchline.
Fly on a-
What do
Fly
flies
punchline.
land on?
Just any fly punchline.
Shit, what do they land on? Shit, I don't
Yeah,
know.
there's like any games coming out. Not really.
So
huh?
I would be keen to try out the Chrono Cross remaster, but the problem is that game runs like absolute shit. So I will not pick that up until they patch it.
That's what
so.
flies land get attracted to. Sorry.
Honey.
Shit.
Digital Foundry did a video on it.
That's so funny.
If you guys haven't seen it, Digital Foundry did a video where on the new graphics settings, Chrono Cross runs at a way worse frame rate than the PS1 original.
What?
Oh, I totally believe that.
Oh, yeah.
How?
Like, in scenes where it's running 30 frames, the new version on PS5 is running at 20.
Whoa. Like that's
Yeah.
odd.
Anyway, they may patch a lot of that stuff. So, anyway.
Maybe wait.
I feel like I dodged a bullet with Lego Skywalker Saga
Why?
because I was gonna get it on the PS5 actually, weirdly enough, instead of the Switch because I'm like, I want something that's just 60. And then I'm hearing that people are saying it runs like trash on this PS5. I'm like, how the fuck
but
does this
how
Lego
does it
game
run on
run like
Switch?
trash?
Yeah, but I mean, it's very different than the other Lego games. Like,
So it's like
no, it's
that
very
should
different in
not
the
be pushing beyond 60. Sorry,
I agree, but you can't use the older ones in comparison because you don't have like the free third-person camera you can of this one.
Yeah.
So it's very different.
Reflections and
But I agree.
Squarespace.
There's no way a Lego game should run crap.
that's my whole point.
Yeah.
I don't care about the old games. I was just like
Okay, fair enough.
basically going, look, I'll get it on PS5 because it will run at 60. I don't want to play it at 30 on the Switch anymore, right? I'm kind of getting a bit over that. And then I heard about it runs like crap. So I'm like, okay, I don't even know what I'm gonna do now. So
hey, unpopular opinion, 30 frames isn't that bad.
weirdly enough, you can. I'm looking at the pre-orders on eBay Games. I'm like, what is coming out even? And weirdly enough, in Australia, you can soon pre-order the Valve Index,
Oh.
Hey.
and it costs a mozza.
How much?
Mozza. The complete kit is like $2,000. Yeah, so I think it's got everything. I think the
So-
base station,
so
and
you-
everything. That's freaking insane.
Talking about eBay games, I just quickly want to mention something you reminded me. You know how I said Elix 2, they cancelled the physical
Yes.
release in Australia? So I went to eBay Games the other day to get those games, and I saw on the shelf a copy of Elix 2.
Fuck off!
So
What?
what they?
So I said to them,
Oh yeah, they
that's
got
weird.
pre-owned versions of it on sale.
So what they've done is they've imported it from the UK, but they legally have to sell it as pre-owned.
What?
Yeah.
Is that a weird loophole?
That's
What the
bullshit.
F?
What?
How does that work? Yeah.
Did they tell
But the thing,
people?
you say it's bullshit,
fascinating.
but the thing is, the game is legitimately new, so people are actually getting a new version that they think's pre-ordered.
Yeah.
No, but it's bullshit that it's not our region though, because sometimes that can have some weird DLC stuff and
Not for Xbox, unless like the things DLC potentially maybe that like codes, but when it comes to the other stuff, there's no issue with the UK region. So
okay.
I've never had
Anyway.
a problem myself, but wow, that's interesting.
was just
so
like-
did you get a physical copy? You would have, right?
I was going to spend like $90 on a game I already own. didn't bother
I
with
totally
that, so.
believe that you would do that.
I totally
Sorry.
believe that you. In fact, I'm shocked
Yeah.
that he didn't.
Can I just say that is not an unfair opinion that he said that.
That's fair. No, I wasn't going to. I'm not going to go back to that game. So
That's a popular
90
opinion
bucks
of what
on
he
that.
just said.
Yeah, but you love the game to bits, and
do.
you love collecting that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I'm not spend $90 just to have it on my shelf. That's all it would be. So.
Can I just say how the duality of man with Mike that he talks about people wasting money on games and he's asking
I
you to
know.
buy a
I know.
game that you're not going to play just
No.
for the sake of buying.
He's
it.
like,
Mike,
oh,
hey,
I'm
Mike."
not going to waste $90 just to put it on the shelf. He's got freaking amiibos he's never opened on his shelf.
Well, you don't need. That's the point of them. You don't need to open them.
Hey, Mike, did you end up getting that Halo Infinite Xbox? He's pretending to be
Did
frozen.
he actually get it? Did you get it? I thought you sold it. He's frozen. No. You should have said the Cyberpunk consoles.
No, but that's at least a game he's super interested in.
No, because
How
Look
about
what
you
the consoles do.
How about your Soul Calibur 6 special edition? No, sorry, I'm
I
just
did-
shitting on Mike.
I did actually sell that, and I didn't profit from it.
No, fair enough.
Okay, so this is coming out soon. Nintendo Switch Sports. I'm looking forward to that. So, but that's like at the end of this month.
Have
But
fun
is
with
that it?
I can't
But what
see
about in the
anything
next
else that's
few
coming out,
months?
man.
And nothing even in the next few
There's
months.
probably games that I'd be interested in that you guys are just skipping over.
Like what?
I don't know. I don't have a list in front of me. So.
Starfield's the next one.
I want to know now. Do we need to keep talking about this live?
No.
No. All right, and with that, bye-bye.
See
Bye-bye.
ya.
Go smell some grass, people.